Perry Municipal Authority. It is 6:50. Will we have the order, please?
Stroller.
Here.
Dow.
Here.
Moxley.
Here.
Norman.
Here.
Nation.
Here.
Wade.
Here.
Warner. Here. Johnson.
Here. Let's declare a quorum. Our invocation is going to be by Reverend Martin Foster from the First Christian Church, which happens to be my church.
Let's be in the spirit of prayer. Oh Lord, we thank you so much for your love for us. Thank you for our home and the community in which we live. Lord, thank you for those who have answered the call to serve. And Lord, we ask that you bless them with wisdom and understanding. And may those who have come this evening to be heard. And may decisions be the best for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We go right to work on business of the PMA, which is the consent agenda. What's your pleasure, council?
Motion to approve.
Second. Got a motion and a second.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow. Moxley.
Yes.
Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Those assembled for the PMA meeting may have comments about the PMA. I'll make this comment. Anyone wish to make comments about concerning the Perry Municipal Authority? See none. Next item. Proclamation, commendation, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Anyone on council or city staff who can make comments? Item 6, ladies and gentlemen, is acknowledgement of the payoff of $950,000 Oklahoma Water Resources Board loan for the wastewater improvements that we accomplished from the day of the loan, which is July 2nd, 1998, to this month. As y'all know, the wastewater treatment facilities were upgraded, built, and come into compliance with the Water Resources Board, and those debts have been paid as of March 7, 2014. Any new business, council? I might add to that, this city does pay its bills, always has and always will. New business? None? What's your pleasure, council?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion second, roll call please.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley. Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. We're now at 6:18, call to order the regular meeting of the Perry City Council. Roll call, please.
Stroller.
Here.
Dow.
Here.
Moxley.
Here.
Norman. Nation.
Here.
Wade.
Here.
Warner. Johnson.
Here. Declaration of a quorum. On the consent agenda, council, are there any items that you wish to remove for further discussion that are on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion second. Roll call.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Item 4 is comments from those assembled. Don't jump up yet. This does not mean the public hearing. This is for comments other than what we might discuss in the public hearing. If you have any comments you used to make concerning service to your home or anything else, this is the time to tell. Comments from those assembled? Seeing none, next item. Proclamations, commendations, reports, inquiries by the governing body. I have a proclamation to make. I'm mayor. Item 6. I didn't tell you the sharpest tool in the Item 6, consider appointment of a qualified person to Ward 1, Post 2, city council seat which I vacated due to a successful election as mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to nominate Brad Marshall.
Second.
have a motion and second. Any discussion? Any other nomination? Seeing none, roll call please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. I think since we've made this appointment, we do have the recommendation listed on here as administer the oath of office. We'd like to administer that oath to Mr. Marshall if he is cooperative.
I'm cooperative.
Very good. And he can be seated tonight in that position. Come forward. I'm coming to you.
Just come around here to the court board and stood for his swearing in.
Swearing you in, swearing in.
Go ahead.
Ready? Raise your right hand. I, Brad Marshall,
I, Brad Marshall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of
of
Oklahoma,
the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not
and I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
or other valuable thing
for the performance or
for
non-performance
the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act of duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than
other than
the compensation allowed by law.
the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as council member
my duties as council member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
For those of you who may not know Brad, he served as a councilman. When I first came on the city council, he served for a number of years and then had to resign due to education desires and job conflicts. So we're very happy and pleased to have this man back on council. Item 7, consider appointment of vice mayor to the city council due to, and you know what it was. How's your pleasure, council?
I'd like to nominate Connolly Wade
I would
for
second.
vice mayor.
Tom? We have a motion and a second. We don't see any discussion for anybody. Nobody wants to? Okay, never mind. Roll call, please.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Abstain.
Warner. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Colin. We appreciate it. Wow. Item 8 is here, folks. And what we want to do is to ask you to be polite and share the time. We have a sign-in sheet. I'm going to take the sign-in sheet. As you come in, I'll call your name. You say what you want to say. You won't get any argument from this council. If you ask us a question, we may answer it, okay? But if it's specifics to a certain, say, profession, we'll not ask that person who's in that position to answer those questions. But we have the rope. If you do not wish to talk, just say no, and I'll go to the next person. I really appreciate these ball players showing up. That's cool. We appreciate you guys. Urban Meyer, you wish to speak, sir?
It's beer, and since I've already discussed it with you and the city manager there, I'd like to just kind of hold my comments unless you want to discuss it with somebody else on the council, but until she has her reports, there's not much we can do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming, Irwin. Appreciate it. Brad, are you wishing to speak?
No, I'll just listen, thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Kine. Danette Marshall, or is it Danette?
Danette. I just am showing my support for building the new complex.
Would you please, did you get that recorded?
Can you hear me?
Okay, it is recorded. We'd rather you come to the mic, but if you don't want to, that's fine. Dixie got it recorded. She's a good note taker. Thank you, Danette. Mason Boulay.
Guess I need to come up here and speak. Or
It's
does
gonna
it-
take
doesn't
more
matter?
than 2 minutes.
It might take more than 2 minutes, but I'm here on behalf of myself, and I'd like to point out a few things to the council since this is a public and open forum, and I hope that you guys have all came here with an open mind to hear these people. I'm sure there's going to be staunch feelings one way or the other, and for me it doesn't matter. I hope that the things I point out are taken into consideration by the council. First, I'd like to start off by, we got a estimate by PDG, the planning group that's here, for $1.25 million. Now, I realize that that is an estimate, a strict estimate, and that could change here after we get through talking this evening. But the estimate of $1.25 million to build a ballpark. In Saturday's paper, we were told that there is a $900,000 bond for that. Now then, math shows me that that's still a little bit short for the bond issue. Also in Saturday's paper, we say that the hotel tax revenue may only be used for the purpose of the tax. The city has numerous needs. Some have suggested that the hotel tax should be used for street maintenance or sewer or other improvements, or more basic public needs. It may not be used for those purposes. It may only be used for the purposes consent with the purpose of the hotel tax, which was approved by the vote of the people. Now then, that's correct. That's in the paper. But I'd also like for everyone to step back and go back to the Perry Daily Journal on March 26, 2013. That is where it was published on what we would vote on for March 2nd, which it did pass by vote of the people. In there it says, Proposition 2 proposes an amendment to the hotel tax ordinance that will increase the current 5% excise tax levied on gross receipts from hotel room rentals to 8%, effective May 1, 2013. The proposal would also eliminate apartments from the definition of hotel, eliminate the permanent residence exemption and permanent revenue from the hotel tax ordinance to be used for public capital improvements related to its purpose, to pay debt and cost issuance of notes, bonds, or evidences of indebtedness issued by Perry Municipal Authority to finance such capital improvements. The current ordinance permits revenue to be used for the preservation, enhancement, and development of tourism and the diverse business, economic, historic, aesthetic, and environmental interest and objectives within the city. Now that did pass. And to me that does not say that it has to be used for a ballpark, and it does not have to be used for economic development. That does say environmental interest. And for me, that could be sewer, that could be other historical aesthetics. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be used for that. I just want people to understand that some of the information we've gotten has not been factually correct. That information, that it could be used for that, from the information that I have gathered. Okay? Back to our bond issue. We say that it's going to cost $900,000 for the bond. We have a approximate bid of $1.25 million. If you go back to the December 2nd, 2013 agenda that was posted by the city, it says the City Council has set aside $750,000 of the hotel tax proceeds to be used for the construction of a baseball quad project. CFO Russ Meacham has also agreed that an additional $250,000 in carry-forward monies could reasonably be appropriated for this project. In addition, it is reasonably believed that the donations by other organizations and grants could provide an additional $250,000 for the project. To me, that's $750,000 plus $250,000 plus an additional $250,000. There's not enough money there for me to see that we've come up with to build our ballpark project. Now that I realize that's just a preliminary thought out there. Also, it says $250,000 of we don't know where that money is going to come from. Now, that's really my question. I understand you guys can answer that, but at this point, I just want you to think about that, and I want everyone else to think about that we have $250,000 that has not been appropriated for our project, and we're still $300,000 short. It also says that these bonds are backed by the hotel motel tax. The hotel motel tax can only be pledged for 1 year. Now, I realize we're in good times. Believe me, good times are good, and I would like to think that times will be good forever. Most of us in this room, other than a few baseball players here, are older than I am and might remember the 80s when the oil field boom went down. I'm quite certain that our hotel motel tax could go down. I hope it doesn't. But this bond is backed that way. And I understand that this bond is backed by the hotel motel tax, and then it is also backed by our utilities. And if the hotel motel tax cannot pay for that, then we, as citizens, it is on our light switch to pay for this. Now then, I don't know if everyone understands that. That if we can't have enough money through the hotel motel tax, our utilities have to be raised. And that's clearly stated in the bond issue. In the bond indebtedness, it says it's for capital purchases, capital improvements. So, to me, again, I'm not for or against the ballpark. I just want to make sure everyone understands that we as citizens are going to have to pick this up if we cannot pay our indebtedness. Like Mr. Johnson has said, this city's always paid its bills. And I've always paid my bills. But I don't want to have to, I want everyone to understand that this could come down to on your utilities. I was very fortunate. I got to play baseball just like these young guys here did. Played 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under. Played high school baseball. When I was in high school, I knew very well who took care of the fields. Still haven't figured out who took care of them when I was in 10 and under and 8 and under. This ballpark, I have seen a lot of things on it, but one thing I haven't seen is a maintenance schedule. How are we going to maintain them? I sure don't want to be in the same situation in 15 years that we're in. I have not seen a maintenance schedule. I haven't seen, do we think it's going to be able to repay its own weight? Is there going to be any revenue come back from this project? Is there going to be a concession stand? Who's going to stock the concession stand? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to run it? Those are things that I think we should all think about here, and I hope that the council takes in mind. Growing up, I've never been one to complain or bring up an issue without a reason or without a solution. And to you as a council, I hope you'll see that there are several people here that are going to speak on both sides. And maybe, for me, my solution is let's put it to a vote of the people. There's no reason why we shouldn't, because in the end, it could be on us. And we can say, we voted for it or we didn't vote for it. As a city, it's backed by our utilities. To me, that's a very fair way. Someone might say, well, an election costs money, Mason. You're right, an election does cost money. The last mayoral election cost $4,116.99, courtesy of the election board. If we had an election, that's fine. I understand $5,000 is $5,000. But we've already spent $10,000 to have the PDG group give us a preliminary design. We spent $10,000 on a project that we don't even know that we're going to do. So I just ask that if it's that important to us and it's that important to a city, that we take our time and we go into this slow. There's no reason to rush into a $1.25 million decision without thoroughly exhausting every opportunity to make sure it's going to be paid for correctly. And once again, I'm all about baseball. I grew up, played baseball, had a lot of great memories out there. And I understand we're in a situation we need to do something. but I just don't know that this is the right answer, and I encourage the council to maybe take this to a vote of the people. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Christina Moret.
I'm gonna yield to my husband, Mike.
Go ahead.
That probably views me.
I appreciate you all letting us speak tonight over this. I usually tell something that I shouldn't. I was raised in Blackwell. Got out of there as quick as I could. Perry is my hometown. We had ballparks up there that were glued together. The city had given us the property that was at a bend in the river on the east side of town. So anytime we had major flooding on the Chikaskey River, we started over and rebuilt ballparks. We had 5 of them. We were proud of them, but we had to start over. Since moving down here and being involved, raising the second family, I go out here to Bob Kraft, Jay Dahman, all those areas, but you know, where the landfill was, where we're practicing, it's not viable. It's not safe. There's no concessions. There's porta potties. There's poison ivy all through the trees, but it's not conducive to the safety of the children. It's also not conducive to bringing in monetary. I'm blank right now, and I apologize, but we're not going to raise funds having tournaments out there. With this program out west of town, I mean, I can sit here and look at the town of Morrison that has nothing, or had nothing, and they've built wonderful ball fields over there and done an outstanding job and make money with everything they do over there. In question to where the $250,000 may come from later, I happen to work for a public oil and gas company. We all know right now that Devon and Red Fork are on the edges of town. Those people, they're stewards of the community they're in. I can't promise you that, but they 99% are. We are in the Kearney-Chandler area. We have purchased firefighting equipment with foam to put out oil field fires, because that's what you've got to have. So we try to remain good stewards in the community. So you're going to have help from them. I mean, like the gentleman before me spoke, I was in the bust of '86. And it was bleak, and we are in good times right now. And we're at a plateau that will last a long time because the government is really paying the taxes for the horizontal drilling. I think this is a good idea. Numbers have dropped in Perry because of baseball, because of the facilities we have by talking to parents. How many weekends did we sit at a ball field in? You know?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. And that's what our kids live for. And it made a difference in our kids. I just think it's a good decision. I am really, really excited about it. And I'm really excited about the things coming into Perry and the way the workings of Perry are. So I appreciate you giving me the time.
Thank you, Mike. Lucas. Luke. You don't talk? Say yea or nay. All right. Caleb.
Come on, say.
Mayor, I just want to say this may be a mistake.
He's good. Thank you for coming.
I didn't really expect this happening, but the reason I really want a ball field is because my brother one time when we were at Bob Kraft, he was having to practice because we don't have enough ball fields. And he had to practice there, and he almost broke his leg playing there, and he hit a hole. So that's all I got.
Thank you. What do you think? Okay, Tim. Hi.
Like my wife, you
couldn't read my reading?
I read it right off.
What's your bank account?
Hey, first off, nice job, Mason. Well spoken, had the numbers under control, but we couldn't expect less from a banker. I'm pleased to be here again tonight to talk about this, and like I said at the last meeting, I think this is a wonderful opportunity. And I think what we need to realize, a couple of things right off the bat. Number one, the land, the Bob Kraft area is not fixable. They've run the tests, it's not fixable. And number two, we don't have a 14 and under field. That's the core of our high school team coming up. And yes, I'm a sports nut, so I don't mind saying that. The third thing is this sports complex, it's just not baseball fields. It's a splash, what do they call it, a splash pond or?
Splash pad.
Splash pad, you got walking trails, there's gonna be picnic tables, all kinds of nice things that families can enjoy. Some of the things people talk about, vandalism. I don't see that area getting vandalized. That area's lit up like a Christmas tree with the businesses out there. Now I'll tell you, out here at Bob Kraft, the softball field gets hit about once or twice a year, broken into. As many years as I spent out there playing or coaching and umpiring, we go in for the annual cleanups and stuff, and it was nothing to find drug paraphernalia. And now and then, parents, I'll leave it up to you to explain this next word to your kids. Even unfortunately found a couple of condoms one time, and I definitely wouldn't look into those. But it's just to say, I think it will improve the quality of life out there. The bicycle issue rises up. I understand there's a team in town where there's 3 boys that ride their bikes. I know the guys that coach that team. I know the guy that sponsors the team. And if those boys needed a ride, they would give them a ride. Just like I knew. Any of the guys in here that have coached before, Tyson does it, Bob Henry did it. I've taken kids for weekends because their mom and dads couldn't go with them for an out-of-town tournament. Everything is doable. It will bring dollars. Will it bring enough to pay off the loan? Probably not. But one of the things I've seen in this town, there are several very generous people in this town that when there's a project started, and especially if this project is going to benefit kids, they like to get involved in these projects. And I think it speaks a lot for these people. Another one I've heard is they don't want to drive to I-35. Let's see, we drive out to Sooners Corner, Macarena, McDonald's, the other hamburger joint, Taco Mayo. So I'm not wondering what is just the problem with driving out there. The oil boom, I'm kind of with you. I don't think that oil boom's going anywhere. It's here for good. There's not going to be a bust.
Well, it's for good in you and I's lifetime.
I think it's good for my lifetime, and I base this on information from my brother-in-laws who are engineers for Exxon. They don't see it coming. I say this, it'll come to an end someday, but not anytime soon.
You know any wells that are paid out?
No, stop.
Glad I got some humor. Hey, I agree with you. I think there's going to need to be maintenance schedules. Who's going to run the concession stands? And I personally think that the city will have a plan for all of that. But again, I think it's a great idea. I think the city of Perry deserves it, and especially the boys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Bob Henry? Bob, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bob Henry. I've lived in Perry and rural Noble County most of my life. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the council and the mayor here. I'm for this project. Just to give you a little history, my dad and his 3 brothers played semi-pro baseball here in Perry back after World War II. I graduated in '69 and was an all-state third baseman here. My son graduated in '93 and was an all-state outfielder. So, you know, baseball runs pretty deep with us. But that's not the only thing in life. There's other things more important. Back in the '80s, I was a member of the Perry Kids Board of Directors. And we had several meetings where we discussed how to improve the ball facilities here in Perry. And we had those with some of the city of Perry officials through those times. Jim Davis is here. He was one of them. And we discussed improving the 12 and under fields, the 14 under fields for baseball. we discussed improving the softball facilities for the girls, improving the high school facility for the boys because of the dump underneath Bobcraft Field, and you know, through the years we've built, we've maintained J. Dahlman. It's a nice facility. We have built Ripley Field, and many in here have donated many days and hours and vacation time to see that built. The girls' softball field facilities are nice, but here it is 30 years later, and the 1200 and 1400 boys they don't have a facility. 30 years later. And I was so excited when I saw this in the paper. That was the first glimpse I got it. You know, with every project, so there's issues, and there's ways to work through those issues, and people mentioned some pro and con. But I'm for this project. I'm excited about the phase 2 of that with the archery range. I've been almost a lifetime archer. The fishing pond, you know, it will touch. It can touch everybody in town. In fact, right now, archery is the fastest growing outdoor activity in the United States, and there's more girls going into archery than there are boys. So this facility has the potential of reaching all ages, and anyway, I'm excited about it. I think it's a great thing. You know, we've looked around this town, many of us, for years and years for a place and the funds, and we haven't been able to find a place. I personally have driven all of this town, and I've looked on Google Maps, and there's just not another place. We've been looking for a place for 30 years, and we haven't come up with it. So it's a good thing. Like any project, it's not without issues. I'm here to lend my support to those issues any way I can. And I would like to say a little more about Bobcraft. I know there's been a lot of issues there. In the late 80s, some of us here teamed up with the city of Perry to rebuild that field completely. And the dirt work was completely redone. Contractors were hired. Dirt was removed. Additional dirt was brought in. It was compacted. From a civil engineering standpoint, it was done right. And we brought sod in. We put new sprinkler system in, and we laid the sod. Looked great. 2 years from that date, third base had sunk 1 foot, and we had to redo the whole left side of the infield in order to play on it in just 24 months. And you know, there's not a firm foundation under that, and you're just not going to be able to build anything on it. I coached players out there that have been cut, sliding into bases by glass and materials 25 years ago, and it's sure not any better. I've had coaches, when I coached the American Legion team here, and the 1400 team tell me that they wouldn't play us anymore if they had to play on that field. And that's sure not a mark against anybody that worked and tried to improve it. And there's a lot of men and ladies that worked out there to try to make that better. But the dump situation just overcome all of our good intentions. So anyway, I'll cut it short here. I appreciate the opportunity, and if I can lend my support to resolve any of these issues, I'll be glad to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Willetta Cutsing?
That's me, right here.
Thank you.
Hi, better known as Petey. Well, I look at all of you guys and I know you live in a nice home. Most of you do. Well, I live on one short block. And I have sewer in my house, comes up in my house, comes up in the yard. I'm 76 years old, a widow. And they don't have time to do that. What's wrong? Would you like sewer in your yard at your house? Oh, I know you wouldn't. You know what I'm talking about because you lived up there by me. But anyway, since the guy talked a while ago, and he was saying it does not say anything about, you know, working on the sewer lines and this and that. So it makes me feel a little better. And I don't know why you can't get somebody up there. It's just one short block is all it is. One short block. And I live next door to Judge Crass. I did. He passed on. And all the people that's moved in there, they have privacy fence on the east. So I'm the only one up there. My property, it's like this. And I'm the only one that's got an easement. And they drive through my yard, got big ruts. So I'd like sometime to have that fixed. Thank you.
Well, give me your address. Yes, your address.
1711 11th Street.
Thank you very much. I'll be visiting that. Thank you. Ernest Locker. Hi, Ernest.
I'm Ernie Luker. Most people probably don't know who I am, maybe. I've been here 37 years, however. Mostly at the coffee shops. The oil boom that we're in now is, of course, created not by the government like the Jimmy Carter boom that I come down in '75. I call that a Jimmy Carter boom.
Yeah.
They let you write off your intangible and tangible drilling costs. And here they all come and like flies. And I spent 10, 11 years rigging up 23 strings of downhole tools and core barrels. And of course it fell on its face, but this boom is not created by the government. At least it's created by technology or horizontal drilling, so that is a definite plus. But you might say east of I-35, I participated with Harry Hughes, 3 sands and several wells, and the Mississippian is a vertical hole. You just don't get your money back. So we're going horizontal, and let's hope we find a chat like the when I come down, we were working at the airport. That's Mississippi Chat, and it's good. But I'm afraid the motel tax might diminish as these wells out here, some of them are pretty good, but you can't get no information. Nobody can seem to find out what they're making. So many of them are just now being fracked, and I'm afraid, and I hope not, gosh, I'd like to see it stay for 50 years, and everybody else would. But I'm concerned that our motels, from the oil field perspective of having oil field people, is going to really change, but there'll probably be plenty of people off I-35, I hope, pick up the slack. But it's going to change. I'm afraid it's just not going to last. But let's hope it does. I know that I never got my money back here basically east of I-35, out of the Mississippi. You well from Kingfisher to Enid, that's a good Mississippi up through there. And of course, northern Oklahoma now, and the 2 southern tier counties of Kansas is Mississippi wells there, but will they last? That's a $64 question. So our motel tax probably has been pretty good. These old motels have been full, haven't they? And of course, I missed out on the boom. This boom, I quit. Was out of it when this hit. So wish I was 30 years younger. But anyhow, that's a little story of, you might, but probably a lot of you all are familiar with the Mississippi Rocks here. And that's about all I had. Thank you. I hope your ballpark is successful, of course.
Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate it. Brett?
Brett Powers.
He's left.
Tough
He
luck.
was here for the.
Jim, Q-U-I-L or D? Is it Jim?
Oh, different.
There he is. You need to make your F's where we left-handed viewers can tell what they are.
Sorry about that, it's the artist in me, I guess.
Yeah. That's cartoonist in you.
I'm listening.
All right, take a pass. Laura Kimney.
I probably will get emotional, but I'm Laura Kimnitz. I look around, all you young ducks are a lot younger than me. But I've been at baseball 55 years with 2 sons. I've seen Jay Dahlman, Joe Ripley, and a matter of hell about Mike Chambers. Most of you didn't know that little boy. I went out there 2 weeks ago, no sign. I marched right to City Hall. It had fell through the cracks 2 years ago. Okay, why? I went today again. I've been out every day. I've seen them watering the ballpark, not before. Today they were mowing. That park is the pits. But why not fix up what we've got? I've been all over around here to ball games in the last 10 years watching my son recruit. Our ballparks are terrible, but we don't need a golf course. We don't need hiking trails. We can go to Century Park and walk. There's country club. Why don't we get that damn sign up there? It makes me so unhappy. None of you knew Mike Chambers. That little boy died. I was there. I didn't know him. I know his parents. Jay Dahlman was about the time I got involved with my boys. I still get to baseball. Burl Brorson's son, Wes, can testify to that. That ballpark looks great. I've been by there. Wes has worked. It looks real good. Burl played baseball with my son. All right, you talk about the oil patch. I was there 50 years. I've seen it go. It was either feast or famine. It went, boy, I've seen ditch witch people, feast or famine. We never believed spending the big bucks when you're making it, because there's going to be years you don't. You've got to be even. Vote on this. I know I won't be here. I'm upper middle age. Anyhow, do what's right. Fix up what we've got. This town sent my son to college in baseball. He got a job through it. So my other son played baseball, and he'll probably spout off. But come on, people. Don't be more like Europeans. Don't tear down. Keep what we thought. Be proud of what we got. There's still Dolmans around here. There's Mike Chambers' mother that lives here. Crafts, I don't think, is there Crafts still here?
No, in
No.
the city.
Okay, wasn't the other part supposed to be Charlie Bestcheck or something? There's some of them here, but the oil will not last forever. I know I got a little oil interest. I get $25 twice a year. Now, what's that gonna pay for? And I inherited that. So, come on, guys. Think of us, older people that are gonna be gone. Do right by our kids. I love them. I buy their tickets. I get to high school baseball. They need help on the dressing room. Come on. Help our kids keep what we've got. I'll be gone, and everybody will think, who was that crazy old lady?
Thank you, Ms. Kim. We appreciate it. Gerald Rainsford.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Marilyn. Eddie.
I'm just listening, thank you.
Thank you. Linda Overhouse.
Same thing, I'm listening.
We got completed the page. Beth.
Just listening.
Thank you. Now there's one. That's got to be the hardest.
Pam.
Tyson? No. Mary Louise does that.
No, I'm Tyson.
Oh, you're Tyson. I got one back here, too. Should have known we wouldn't get that low.
Read through it kind of fast.
Coker. Thank you, Tyson. Appreciate it.
My name's Tyson Coker.
Who's that?
Tyson Coker. Some of you know me when I was like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just on the baseball side of it all. Played ball from what age, girl?
Probably 8, 7 or 8 years
All the way up through high school, things like that. Burl, Tim, Bob. A lot of these guys, I mean, they've seen us all grow and go through it. Myself now with a son that's old enough, he's been playing ball. Got another one that's coming up, and seeing the complex and the layouts, a great deal. I mean, it's good to see it finally being put in the public, in the face of people, to say, hey, here's a sport that's trying to grow and put forth effort, but everyone's always overlooked it. We look at every other sport in this town, I feel, coming from mostly playing baseball, it gets overlooked. It's been overlooked because we don't have really much to play off of. Field quality has diminished, I don't know how much, a lot since I've been playing. As this place gets built or comes about or people's layout for it, I see everyone talking about, well, can it produce money? Can it do this? Can it do that? It's the dollar bill. People have to really look at is there's small ball, which is going to be your local teams. Perry Kids, Morrison, Pawnee, Glencoe. There's a lot bigger picture out there that a lot of people don't see. U-Trip baseball. That's what we played in. Our Perry Colts team played in. You guys know about their past, their history with baseball. When you get into U-Trip and you get into these leagues, you can take a complex like this And you can turn it into a moneymaker, big time. Ark City, Edmond. Edmond's kind of a huge ordeal because they run like 16 fields or something, so I know that's not what I'm looking for. When you step outside this small little league world and into a U-Trip area, you can host tournaments every weekend. That makes money. You look at a team of 10 kids, 11 kids, 12, usually at most. You're looking at 10 and under teams coming in, $300 entry fee. You've got moms paying to get in, dads paying to get in, grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc. paying to get in. There's a lot of money. You can take 2 fields, run probably a 12-team tournament off of it. So now start doing the math on that. That's a lot of teams. That's a lot of parents. It's a lot of people that come in to watch kids play. And that's not even locals coming out to the complex, coming out to an area and watch. I'm not saying it's going to pay it off like super fast, but that's how you generate the money to help take care of concession, maintenance, and to start helping pay on whatever kind of overhead bills you're going to have with it. I'm not a money man. I just played baseball. The other thing I look at that's brought up, Mason here is saying the maintenance of it, things like that. Not to just step on toes. This might not be the place to say it, but I would leave the city completely out of it. They can't take care of what's here already. They rely on us baseball coaches when we played. We weed eat, we take care of the fields. It's the parents that go in and do the work. People want to know how these fields get taken care of. It's the parents.
It's been that way forever.
Yeah. But when you get set things said, well, the city's going to come in and spray, the city's going to come do this, that never happens. It has never happened. I've played from Jade Almond all the way up to, Chambers and all that. It never happens. We come in, parents pull together, we have a meeting, we take care of the fields. Will that happen out there? Hard to say. Would I like for it to happen out there? It would be helpful, don't get me wrong. But having somebody that's assigned to come in that does work on fields or in general knows landscaping, that's what you look for. Because if you involve somebody else, a group, the city, yeah, I'll get out there. Yeah, I'll get out there. Well, if we have a sewer problem out there, it's things like that that are going to get overlooked, and you've got to be able to have certain people take care of certain things. That's what I want to bring to the table is don't look at this being Perry Fields small town ball. There's a huge picture out there that a lot of you have never even seen. We go to Tulsa. Our team that we had, our Perry Colts team, we played 90% of our games in Tulsa. We drove an hour to Tulsa. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Sometimes we got room, sometimes we stay. So think about the gas that you use in those towns, food, your motel, things like that. You take a 12-team tournament, look at what you've done. How many families are going to stay? We have teams that's proven from the Stillwater tournament that just happened this last weekend or so. There were teams from Wichita going to Stillwater to play in tournaments. Okay? Where are they driving by? Drive right by us. I know a lot of ball teams. Ark City, Wichita, Oklahoma City teams, Guthrie teams, Edmond teams. Even beyond that come and play. When you get into U-Trip ball over in Tulsa, and I understand the border's a little closer, you get teams from Arkansas, Missouri. Michigan. We've had teams, Michigan teams come down. Our Perry Colts team, thanks to their hard work and everyone helping and supporting them, a few years ago, we went down to Texas. We raised enough money, the community put enough money forward to keep us there for a week. Bills paid for a week to play baseball in Texas. Okay? That can happen. That can happen here. You can host an area. You can put together something that's big enough to fund it. It won't happen with small ball. I promise you that. It'll fail and everyone will go, oh, told you so. Told you so. So that's all I want to do is just throw a little tidbit out there to look beyond just what's Perry kids, because you can make more out of it. Thanks.
Mary Louise Dosette.
I'm Mary Louise Dozell, and I just wanted to say that I think all of us here would like to have good ballparks for our kids. I really do. I think the issue for me is where it's going to be. And I was told that I shouldn't even come talk, that there's already been a decision made, and you're just going and talking. They're just doing this to try to satisfy some people. But I had talked to Chuck Hall before, and he said, this is not a done deal until the shovel is put in the ground. And also our new mayor has told me the same thing. So I came here with the belief that it's not a done deal yet. But I grew up with 5 brothers, all played ball. My dad coached ball. So I've been around all sports. My husband was a football coach, and baseball, and wrestling, and basketball, you name it. So I've been around sports a lot, and I love sports. But my concern is we're leaving out a group of children. They are not seen. I remember growing up here that you are not charged a dime to play ball, not a dime. You were just given the opportunity, and I think we lose a lot of children because it's becoming exclusive, not inclusive. And having it out at that I-35 is going to exclude children that don't have parents at home to support them. They're from single families. They're being raised by their grandparents, and they're going to be lost in the shuffle. And I hear there's scholarships, but why that the papers are sent home to the kids? But if they have no family life, that's going to be lost. I feel that we are losing. That's who I'm concerned, because yes, all of these children here have parents that are going to make sure they're involved, but there's going to be children that are lost. And what sports should be used for is to help make our children be better citizens. Teach them discipline, teach them teamwork. Let them know that they are worth something and that they are part of this community. And if we don't, that's when they get in trouble. And I hear there's shady characters out of that other ball field, the one they use right now. Well, I'm telling you, we've always had shady characters in Perry. It's not just now. We've always had them. But I thought I'd call the police department. And they said, to just confirm what I've heard, I-35 is a drug corridor. And so, you talk about shady characters, there are going to be shady characters coming off I-35, a lot more than what they're going to be exposed to riding out to the ballpark where we are right now. And talking about the mileage out there, my concern is not with just the children trying to get out there, but with our adults, our older citizens. My dad loved baseball. He was always out going to a game. And he had macular degeneration. He shouldn't have even been driving, but he felt comfortable in the daytime to go out and watch a lot of these boys play. But if it was out there, like I've been told, well, that's only 2 miles, but that's on I-35 going under, and I don't think he would feel, an 80-year-old, 85-year-old man is not going to drive out there, but he felt comfortable. So we're going to lose other citizens, not just the children, but other citizens that want to go out and watch those games. And then one other point I want to make. I appreciated Mr. Nation's video that he made on Facebook about Bob. I knew Bob Kraft. I lived next door to Bob Kraft. He and my dad coached together. They bought uniforms for kids. There was no child that was not denied a chance to play ball. If they needed shoes, if whatever they needed. I mean, they went so far as if they needed a jockey strap. They got whatever they needed. But I think my dad and Bob would both say, if there's a chance that a child cannot play baseball by that field being out at I-35, they'd say, don't do it. Thank you.
Amy President.
Hi. I'm mainly here to support my mom as well, but my main concern, I think, has been with the accessibility. Moving away from Perry and then coming back, my main reason for coming back here was to give my kids an experience of being in a community that cares about each other, that cares about their kids, and it's great to see this much of a turnout, because that just shows that people really care about the community, and they do care about baseball. So it's great to see that. And I don't want to see it as being like us versus them or one versus the other, because I don't think that's the case. I think everybody does want to improve baseball, the baseball experience for these kids. It's just how are we wanting to improve it. And I really appreciated Mason's point about bringing it to a vote of the people. Especially if you see how many people turn out here, I can imagine how many people would turn out to vote. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you. If that's Riley Levitt.
Riley Lee?
Yes.
I about got to Riley, I hadn't quite yet. Dustin? Hey, Dustin.
Hello, how are y'all? I see this microphone is set for short people. My name is Dustin Presley. You guys don't need a biography of me. I just came back to Perry a couple years ago. I'm all in for a new ball field. I think it's great. Support the kids. I do have a couple of concerns. One being the accessibility, like my wife talked about. Are there going to be sidewalks built to and from? Crosswalks between the busy intersections of your McDonald's, your Braum's, your Ditch Witch entrance and exits. Thinking if this is going to bring business to town, I don't understand the building outside in. I see a lot of Perry. I've been gone for 25 years, and you drive down Fur and there's condemned buildings, condemned houses, condemned businesses. There's 15 open spots on the square. I think there's a lot of more important things that we need to do other than build a new complex. I think revive what we have, live off what we have, and that's really all I got to say. So, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Jeff Coke?
I've answered worse.
Sorry.
Yes, you have.
I bet he's used to that. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm used to worse than that. All right, good evening. My name is Jeff Coe, and I appreciate you letting us all have time to talk this evening. Just the perspective that I want to try to bring tonight is more from the Perry Kids perspective. Been Perry Kids for 8 years, vice president or president for 5 of those years, coached one team or another all 8 of those years. And so from the practical side of this, I know some of it's been discussed before, but if you look at what we have today, and the numbers go up and down, but from a real practical standpoint, we have Jay Dahlman, where all of your 8 and your 10 and under play today. And you have Mike Chambers, where your 12 and under plays. In years, we will have 6 8 and under teams and 3 or 4 10 and under teams. So you've got 9 or 10 teams that play on one field. They have to practice on that field, and then when the season starts, they have to play on that field. There is really no other field for them to go practice on. Yeah, we can go down to M&M, we can go out behind the field in the grass, but they don't have a field to go run and practice unless we do that on Saturday or Sunday. And usually there's some accommodations made for some of that. Those are the only time the boys actually get to be on some field that has bases on it. That are the right length, has a pitching mound that they can practice on. Unless we happen to have nights where there aren't games, where if you have that many teams, that's pretty rare. other than Wednesdays, where we don't schedule games and we don't normally have practice. So from a practical standpoint, it's very difficult once you get into the season, and really even before that, because you're juggling, you get one night a week on the field. 12 and under, obviously, with one field, we usually have 3 or 4 teams. There's a little more flexibility there, but again, once the season starts, you're limited in terms of times you get to actually practice. So from the practical standpoint, we have a whole lot of problems just dealing with that. That was probably my biggest surprise coming into the league, was whenever I took over responsibility for one of the age groups, it was like, okay, well, we got games, and when do y'all practice? Oh, you can't practice because that's when 8 and under has to be. And so there's a lot that goes on. It's part of the reason the fields are in the shape they are, because they just get pounded into the ground during the season. And there's really no relief time in there for them. So from some of the other things, practical-wise, I'll agree with Bob and Tim earlier. I coached for 8 years. I don't know how many years I can count where we've picked up kids to bring them to practice, to games, out-of-town games, wherever they needed to go. If there's a need, it usually gets filled. Now, I know there'll be scenarios where that's not 100% true, but if somebody knows about it, those kids will be at the field. Several of these other people that are in here have experienced the same thing. So from my perspective, I just kind of go down a list of questions, and that's all I was going to lead with is, do we need to do something? I think the easy answer is yes. You can't look at what we have today and try and service the teams and the boys we have and say that we can't do something. This is a plan that's on whatever revision we've had. We've looked at other options. We were out past Sooners Corner. We brought on those changes to try and accommodate some of the concerns we had at that time. So does it have still concerns with it? Yes, there's concerns with some of the things going on. Are they insurmountable? I don't think so. We need to determine how they're going to be maintained. We got to determine how the fields are going to be taken care of. Who's responsible for that? Who takes care of them? But if we know we need to do something, we believe this is the best plan that we've put forward to this point. Can we overcome what those concerns are? I think we can. We'll leave that up to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeff Cowan, you want to talk?
No, I'm good.
All right. Jim. John Dozell. Sorry. Here's this. Hi, John.
The shady character that's always been here, my wife talked about. I'm John Dalzell. Thanks for letting me talk tonight. I want to start off saying baseball is very important to me. I'm getting ready to go home and listen to the Cardinals or watch from here a little bit. Playing the Mets, I think. I look around the room. Bob Henry beat me off a high school team. He's a great baseball player. I tell everybody he's the best guy ever played baseball here because he beat me off, but that's not true. He is good. I think of the Tovar family. I got to be around Mr. Tovar and be coached by him. 5 generations of my family have played baseball here and or coached baseball here, including me. So baseball is real important, okay? And I'm one, too, that thinks that this town is still one of the best towns to live in that I know of. That's why I'm here. I don't like to go around telling people, you don't know I live in a terrible town. So I'm proud to be from Perry. My great-grandfather came in on the land run, and our Dalzell family has been here forever. So baseball is important, and my family thinks the town's great, okay? But we've got opportunity to be creative, and I think we could use our creative minds to come up with a solution to get what we need in this town for ballparks. What concerns me, one of the biggest things concerns me is I've not seen any evidence since I've been in this town, at least for the last 40 years, that we are committed to taking care of what we got. I'm so old that I started out playing baseball in a lot right next to Joe Ripley's house. I used to go out and watch Mr. Ripley catch Mickey barehanded, and we had organized baseball amongst ourselves. And then we moved over just 2 blocks away to where the old Perry Elementary School that's now dilapidated, and that's another idea I have is we need to condemn it and build what we want there. But anyway.
Good idea.
But anyway, we played baseball. My dad played softball. We played 10 and under. had 6 teams of 10 and under, I believe at that time, and Perry hadn't grown since that time, so roughly baseball's always been about 6 or 8 teams, and then kind of moves on up, and that's a good thing. Moved from 10 and under to, and now you see what's happened to that ballpark up there, okay? It's not there anymore. Moved up from there and played 12 and under and high school baseball out at Hump Daniels Field. Had the opportunity to catch Brent Kimnitz. I've got evidence. He broke my knuckle. He's left-handed and didn't tell me he was going to throw a curveball, and I was supposed to warm him up, and he broke my knuckle. But we played baseball there, high school, and got to watch the semi-pro teams, including Satchel Paige, come to town and pitch at that stadium, and you can see what's happened to that ballpark. And now I hear even the supporters of this project talk about the ballparks we've built since then, all needing maintenance. And so my question is, are we going to be sitting here 5, 10, 15 years from now talking about nobody's taking care of this? Because evidence says in Perry's history of the last 50 years, we're not taking care of what we got. So I would like to see a couple things. Our creative minds go to work. I think there's a way to come up with a place for the 12 and under and 14 under play. I know Bob, and I agree with him, it's hard to find a space. But of course, I'm thinking, well, you take this X number of hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars and offer it to the right people, you might be able to buy a block here in town, you know, and build what you want. I don't know. But and again, I look at the old elementary school and I go, well, now, you know, why don't we just condemn that and have the school condemn it or something and build what we want there? I don't know. That's a lot pretty big. I'm worried about a lot of things, but I'm pro baseball. And my grandkids have played against some of you all as coaches and players, and I've coached some of your kids here, so I don't want anybody thinking I'm anti-baseball. I would like to think we're creative enough, though, that we can come up with something that makes better sense than this, both long-term and short-term. I am concerned about this being out located where it is for the reasons my wife said, and I understand all the justification for it, but we've tried as a city to build other Frisbee golf courses and walking trails and everything else, but I just don't know. I think it's hard to justify that just around that. And baseball for sure, as far as making money, I think if we're going to do something like this, we better get ready to be committed to put aside $50,000 to $75,000 a year to maintain what we got. Otherwise, you're going to go out to something like Bob Kraft Field and somebody's going to break their leg or do something. That could happen anywhere, but maintenance for sure. We see it all the time. Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad everybody that did come out came out, and I'm glad everybody's willing to stand up and give input. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Knapp.
Thank you for moving that microphone down because I'm shorter than you. My name's Linda Kinnick, and probably shouldn't, and thank y'all for listening to us. I'll try not to make a fool of myself. I am concerned about the maintenance. I drove by the ball fields this weekend. They do look pitiful. And my boys played out there, so, you know, and they probably look pitiful then too. What concerns me is and I'm not necessarily opposed to this because it sounds like we probably do need more ball fields, but we have money for this, but we don't have money to take care of what we already have. We have money for a new concession stand, but we didn't have money to build a concession stand out there, which might have helped maintain those some. Those things haven't seen paint. They haven't seen planks, 2x4s for the dugouts. They haven't seen a lot of things in a long time. And so we have money for this, and yet we haven't seen fit to give those kids that have been playing out there for the last 30 years since I've lived here to play out there in a decent surroundings. And no matter what you do and no matter what it is built on, there's going to have to be some maintenance done. So I'm kind of like Mason. I'd like to see what the maintenance plans are going to be. If we're doing it for the money, if we're going to try to recruit a lot of tournaments, and I'm not opposed to that, that brings money into town. Where's our business model? Do we have a business model? Have we done a needs assessment to see whether any of that would be met by this proposal? To me, you run it like business if you're trying to make money. And have we done that yet? Another point I'd like to ask is what's going to happen to the fields that are out there when this is built? Are they going to be allowed to continue to deteriorate? Are they going to become one more eyesore in this town that's not kept up? Are the boys going to be expected to go practice out there because we don't want them to mess up this new ballpark? It's not safe for them to play there now, but it'll be safe for them to practice there. Does that make any sense? So I would want to know, what are we going to do with those old ball fields? And if they're going to be used for practice or anything else, is there some evidence that there's going to be improvements made if we're worried about safety? Those are the kinds of things I'm concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Cash. Michael Cash. Micah. Did I pronounce everything wrong?
Micah Cash.
Micah Cash. Thank you.
Wasn't going to speak tonight. I've lived in Perry about 8 years. I've had boys in baseball every one of those years, and they're still. I'm embarrassing my son right now. I've recently taken over Jeff's responsibilities with Perry Kids as course president. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But there is a need for the baseball field. And as far as taking over those responsibilities, I've also just recently learned the stories about the two boys whose the fields were named after. And I just want you to know, me and the 12 and under coaches, we're trying to find that sign for Bob Kraft, or not Bob Kraft, Mike Chambers. We've asked the city if they can look for it, but we're trying to find it to get it put up.
I'll pay for it if it needs to be paid.
Well, I think someone had taken it down to try to paint it, and it just didn't get put up. But we're trying to locate it to get it put back up, because it doesn't need to be there. And we don't want to forget these boys with the new baseball fields. You know, we want to remember them, so maybe put a plaque up there, or name the new fields after them too, or put a plaque up there. But we do have a small concession stand at Chambers, riddled with spiders, which I spent 5 hours cleaning today. The paint's peeling off the wall. The sinks don't work. They don't drain. There's bathrooms out there. You can't even use the bathrooms. We had to have porta potties brought in. I don't clean porta potties. I don't use them. I don't clean them. So that's going to get interesting as the season goes on. Jay Dahman, there's a need for handicap parking. Right now, the way the field's designed, people drive inside the fence, park up next to the ball field, and we have teams warming up in the extra space. And we have kids watching their brothers playing chase back there, and it hasn't happened yet, but someone's going to get run over. I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad this year, but we're going to chain that off, because I don't want that on my head in this new position I'm in. So I would love to have this field, as far as bringing in new tournaments. That's a big money maker there. Tournaments coming in. I feel like I'm just rambling, and as far as maintenance, I've been out there 2 or 3 days a week doing stuff. We've had parents volunteer their time, doing the best we can. Perry Kids Inc. We're running the concession stands now. We buy every thing we sell, put it in there. We make sure it's clean. I don't know. I guess that's about all I have to say.
Thank you very much. It's a very important topic.
Yeah, and there's only 2 10 and under teams, but we have 6 and under teams this year. We have 8 and under, not 6 and under, sorry. 6 8 and under teams, 2 10 and under teams, and we have 3 12 and under teams. So, we're going to be playing 3 games a night for 8 and under. So there are going to be kids out there till, 9, 10 o'clock. 10:30. And I will say something about the city. Brenda Stotts, is that her name? We needed a pole replaced on one of the bleachers at J. Diamond because it was very rusted. And they did come out the day I called them and fixed it. So that's a plus for you guys. But that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. The sign has been brought up now 3 different times, and I think it's time that topic only that we address, and Mary's going to address that.
When I became aware that the sign was not there, I was appalled, as I'm sure all of you are, and
I was at City Hall 2 weeks ago. Was it that man heard me and 2 other people, and Dixie was up the aisle. Why they didn't tell you, I don't know.
But once I discovered, once I learned that the sign was gone, talked to Brenda. Brenda's my go-to person because she has the history of everything. And as to why it wasn't put back up, you know, at this point, I don't know that it really matters. I think that the main thing is to let you all know that the new sign has been ordered, and as soon as it's put up, we will, you know, make sure that the newspaper is there. I did talk to Mrs. Sattler and apologize to her for the oversight, and to let her know that we were very, very sorry that the sign is not there, and to let her know that we have ordered the sign, and I will be personally contacting her again to let her know when that sign gets put up so that she can be there and be a part of that. And so that's, you know, to share, to let you know, you know, where we are on that.
And if you do, send me a bill.
No,
I
no.
will pay for it. I'm serious.
The city will take care of it.
I didn't know the
City has money.
Thank you very, very much. Gloria May.
Well, I wasn't going to talk, but after all
Oh,
this.
yeah, like it.
Yeah. Well, you all know I've been with baseball for years, and you had to know my dad, who, if you didn't, I learned to keep score when I was 5 years old, pretty much. And if I didn't get it right, I had to relive it for 3 more days. But, you know, I'm not against this ballpark. I think it'd be a great thing. But, you know, really, do we have the money? There's a lot of things I like to see done in Perry. Mary knew that when she came to our Tuesday Club meeting, and I'm not against it. I know that my mother would not be able to go because she's 82. She doesn't like to drive on the highway. I'd have to take her to all the games. And as far as maintaining, that's my big thing of who's going to take care of it. You know, my dad took care of the fields for I don't know how many years. Well, he still had cancer. He took care of them. And y'all know him, he was a stickler. If he didn't have it perfect, you couldn't play on it. So are we gonna have somebody that's gonna take care of that, do the concession stand? I had to help with my dad's tournament, work the concession stand for the high school field because we couldn't get any parents to help. That's my concern, you know, and when I go to the Perry High School games, there's more out-of-town people than there is Perry people. How sad is that? So I just want to, you know, really think about it and let us decide. That's it.
Thank you, Gloria. Dennis?
I'll yield my time to the next person down the list.
Thank you, Dennis. Zach, you know, must be a lawyer.
No, it's Earl.
Earl.
I'll pass.
Oh, Earl. Oh, main man. Karen Wilcox.
I know that everybody here is surprised that I have something to say.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm hearing a theme from everybody. And the theme is that we all love baseball. We all think this is a beautiful park. And we'd all like to have it in our community. But I'm not sure that One, it was addressed properly to start out with. I think the council rushed to a lot of decisions before people in the community were aware of what was going on. I am not without knowing about Perry Kids. I used to be the president and actually helped lay the water line from the highway that runs by the stadium all the way to the very end of the park out there. So I've been involved in baseball since 1975 in Perry, Oklahoma, in one way or another. I would love to see a beautiful complex like this, but I too am worried about it being out on I-35 in that area. I don't know what the cost of our land is out there, but I think economic development is one of the reasons why we have that land out there. And if you put a price tag on the property, that is how much? Can anybody tell me? The value of that property as economic development property. Nobody? Russ? Can you tell me what the value of the property is out there? The value of economic development property.
Correct.
Per acre, what we're going to spend on the property?
What it will make, okay?
It'll
If you
make
have to turn
whatever.
around, if you have to turn around and sell it, okay, what would you sell it for, sir?
Whatever somebody will pay us.
Okay, and
That is the standard answer for anything that we have for sale.
Okay.
Whatever somebody will pay for it is what it's really worth.
so what did we pay for it?
Well, $50,000 is the number that we have.
$50,000 an acre?
No, total. Total.
Total for
We
that?
We paid $2,000 an acre back.
$2,000?
Back in the early 90s. But we're repurchasing 6.117 acres, at least it's on the agenda tonight. And we're paying about $8,000 an acre for that tract. Of course, Anheuser-Busch, that facility was appraised for $4 million there, and they're selling us 6.117 acres for, it's $50,000, so essentially $8,000 plus change. So if you want to take all the property that's there, I would say it's probably, and you want to use it all as an $8,000 figure, although I don't think it's all. You know, I think that it would vary. The property to the south would be less, but I would say that $150,000, for that complex. That's the value of that property.
You're valuing it after it's built. Is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
no, I'm talking about just the land cost.
Okay.
I mean, I clearly believe that what we're paying for that property is the fair market value. I
Okay.
think that $8,000 an acre is the fair market value.
I must interrupt here. This is your time to talk to us.
Yeah.
And we're here to listen. Okay?
Excuse me, sir. I certainly don't want to do anything improper here. But I'm going to say that I do think that that is an important point that we have to make in how much we value our land out there for. We have a very expensive piece of property that we're talking about putting ballparks on. Again, that has a value to everybody in this room. And I believe that we could probably build it somewhere else for a lot less money.
Where?
I see this,
Where?
well, I think John
Stop.
gave a good example. I think John gave a really good example of where it might be located, which would be a really good spot, which would be the old elementary school. I bet you could buy that for a song and a dance. At any rate, I see this whole thing as we're not going to be able to practice on these fields. We're going to only use them for tournaments and for games. I see this as a field that everybody believes is going to make money. We too used to travel to ballparks, and I can tell you when I traveled, we didn't get to stay because we didn't have the money to do that. So we traveled, we came back. We've been to Arc City, we've been to tournaments in Tulsa, we've been to Tulsa's, to tournaments everywhere. We used to have to play in the Stillwater League because we only had one team that was 14 and under. So I don't know how many teams we're also talking about when we start talking about building ballparks for them. I'm not against the ballpark. I will also say that all of the other complex that's there, I believe we have pretty much in our community. We have the Frisbee golf thing already at the Rotary Park. We have at the CC Lake, we have the ability to walk around it. We have fishing docks down there. We also have, I understand, archery out there. I've never been out there to see it, but they've had tournaments out there. Anyway, I do believe that we have a lot of facilities in this town already. And again, I will say, we don't take care of them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Megan Boulay.
Mignon. I think, my name's Mignon, by the way.
Mignon,
I'm just
I'm sorry.
here as a concerned citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mignon. Sorry. Marilyn Brennan.
I'm also here as a concerned citizen, and our concern is the cost of maintenance, and I think the people need to vote on that.
Marilyn, could you come to the podium, because we have people listening on TV and they can't hear
That's
if you're
all I have to
not.
say.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
so-
that's fine.
Okay.
Marilyn's concerned about cost and access. Maintenance, folks, we all, thank you.
And she thinks it ought to be voted on.
Terry Harmon.
Well, I wasn't gonna talk, but Mrs. Kimmon's got me riled up. She's a heck of a cheerleader, I love her. There is other aspects to be dissolved, and plus, I have also came to the council. Me and Chuck started this talking about a year ago, had a little meeting downstairs. There is ulterior stuff that can be done to the old ballparks. Yes, we put Band-Aids and stuff on it over the years. Now there's newer equipment. There is totally stuff that can be done. I've talked to several dirt contractors. Me, myself, I've worked in the oil field for 30 years running a dozer. Worked for scrapers and everything else. I know how dirt works. We've talked to the county. They agreed to run a bow mag over that to crush all that. The city now owns property to the south of the softball. The county has also offered to haul that over onto the new fields. There's 9.8 acres there. They can be 4 fields laid into that. You turn them right and move them around. Stuff can be done to those fields to bring that back to the original Hector Tovar complex. Everything I played on it, all these kids have played on it. There is the need for the maintenance. My son, the last 2 years, has sprayed the Aikman Park with my sprayer and my chemical. It wasn't the city. He's done it. 2 weeks ago, they went to Stillwater, rented a sod cutter. They cut the sod off that field. Nobody else did. So that is the maintenance problem. If we add more maintenance to what we already got, the maintenance crew stretched now, they're probably mowing more than I bale acres with the little lawnmowers and all over town. So it just, and the safety of the kids. Everything back here, I-35 is not, I go out there in fire trucks all the time. You're lucky if you don't get run over. And bring their kids through there, that's just adding more fuel to the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Val or Vale?
Burl.
Burl? Sorry, Burl.
Glad I came in
I'm
towards the
sorry,
end. I don't have a whole lot to say. I just came here tonight because I care about Perry kids and Perry baseball. And I could tell a lot of stories that go way back, but I'm not going to bore you with all of that stuff. But I do care about the baseball and the baseball fields. My son Wesley is currently the head high school baseball coach. Although I don't speak for him, I'm sure he would want the younger kids to have a strong program and a good facilities to play on. I will say that one thing through the years when I played on the Perry fields and also coached, that I thought the city of Perry did an admirable job of doing what they could to take care of the fields. Jim Davis and Hector Tovar, they did a great job back when Tim and I were coaching, did all they could. And I know they're limited by budget and personnel, but I would give them some credit for the efforts that they put forward. It was admirable. In terms of the fields, I remember, I guess it was about 49 years ago, I went to my first baseball practice at Jay Dahlman, played catch with Billy Klein, and Hector Tovar was my coach, and Brent Kimlis was on my team. And played on all the fields, coached 4 kids on the fields, and now have 2 grandsons that are starting to play on the fields. Jay Dahlman is a good facility. It's well drained. It's way overused. There's too many kids for that one place. It is a great facility. Ripley Field is recognized as one of the finest high school baseball fields in the state of Oklahoma. Mike Chambers is not a good field. Played there, I coached there. It lays in a low place next to the creek. The drainage is very poor. If it rains at all, you can't play. There's mosquitoes, insects, stuff's coming out of the creek. Kids, it's not a really good facility. I'm not saying it couldn't still be used, but it is a tough field. The next field over, Bob Kraft Field, we tried to play on it and coach on it. It's a miserable field due to the fact it's built on an old landfill, and the field, just holes keep sinking in it. We brought in 9 loads of dirt. Third base sunk down the next year, and we couldn't, the whole area sunk down. We just kept adding dirt, and Jim can attest to the expense we went to and still have a poor facility. The next field over is at Emil Voigt Field. It's not even being used. No, Bob Kraft's the first one. Mike Chambers, Bob Kraft, and Emil Voigt. And it's also on the landfill. It's not in a good location. And certainly, as my good friend Terry says, you might could bring in some dirt and do something with those. I don't know, but we've tried a lot there, and it's a tough place to try to do anything with. The softball fields down at the end are really nice. Good complex there, a great facility. I don't know anything about this location out there, but I am for the kids and for new facilities, and it sounds like a great opportunity to me to have a better place for the kids to play. I do understand the concern about, kids being able to get there, but as coaches, we always picked up kids, and I never knew a kid that couldn't play because they didn't have any money or didn't have a glove or whatever. They were always taken care of if that need was known. Anyway, I think it's admirable of the city of Perry to consider having a facility like this for the kids to play, and I thank you for thinking of them.
Thank you. Jim Davis.
Well, I hope I can defend myself for a little bit, because I was operating those fields out there for approximately 22 years. The maintenance and whatever that was done out there was all under my supervision. We did the best we could for the money we had and the personnel that we had, and they're still doing that. The one thing that you've got to understand with the city of Perry, a lot of the workforce is summer help, and school's still going on, so they're not going to get any summer help to start doing some of the maintenance that's needed out there right now. And they will be coming back in to do that just in the near future, as soon as possible, where they get some summer help. I fought Bob Kraft for about 18 of those, no, probably 16, because I quit. They can't be fixed. No, I'm not talking about different equipment. You can't get into them. If you get into it, you're going to be in a
EPA.
Yes, in an EPA situation. There is so much stuff buried in that, and you can ask Ralph Passo about this. He buried his scraper out there in one that took 2 dozers to get them out, and you're not going to believe what we pulled out of there. It's stuff that you can't dig up, but you start digging it up, you're going to have to replace it. Digging it up is from the highway clear to the county road, because no matter, you'll never know where that stuff leaches out to, because everything's dumped into it. Car bodies, springs. When they built Mike Chambers,
It springs.
they hung Bob Bort by his heels and let him down in the hose to cut bed springs out so they could put a pole there. And it's probably a good thing Karen wasn't there, because she'd cut the rope. On a lighter side, this is it's really a sad situation. There may be other places to build ballparks, but where that is right now is not the place to do it at. And from where the south side of the softball fields are, that's the edge of the city property. And where the pit is up on top, we're digging out of Harry Hughes' property up there because he gave us permission to do that. There's really no prop. Now there's property up to be sold.
He gave it to the city.
Already? Okay. Well, he hadn't when I was there. But still, if you want to rebuild the ones that's there, that's what you'd be getting into to move them around. This facility is a top of the line facility, and I'm sure these people are not going to do something that they're not going to be able to maintain. They're on something of this quality. They're going to try to bring something in here, and for these kids, in which they're deserving of it, they've tried to play on that stuff that's out there for years, and it ain't been fun. It's just been a mess. Like Burl said, Mike Chambers, it's flat as a flitter, and when they work it, a berm goes up, and you got a lake out there, and then after they practice and play on it, looks like a feedlot. But it's been done. Goes back in, you cut the berm off, and do whatever you have to it. But it's time for these kids to have a new facility. It's just something that's been needed for a long time, and we own the property. We don't have to go looking for purchasing more property, and it would be a quality place. That's about all I have to say, unless somebody's got some questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. We had some folks show up a little bit late, and if there's anyone who did not sign on this registry who would like to speak, please stand and take the podium. Announce your name and you can speak.
Sure. Mayor, may I go ahead and speak?
I don't
Unless
know.
I did.
I'm taking hints from your husband.
She gave it to me.
I deferred, I didn't decline.
Point of order.
Thank you. My name's Christina Morrill, and my two boys are here tonight. One of them spoke. My husband Mike spoke. A little bit of background: I moved to Perry 19 years ago out of college. My husband and I own a real estate business in Stillwater. He works in the oil field outside of Perry. We do not work here in Perry. We don't have to live here. I'm from Cushing. He's from Blackwell. We can choose to live anywhere else we want to. But I came up with a saying a few years ago that this is paradise. Just another day in paradise, because we have a great community. We have a safe community. We have great people. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate all the opinions that all of you have spoken. I think it's good for these boys to see how things work in the government, even though they've been elbowing me for an hour and a half to go home. But I just want to say, and I'm going to tag on to what Tyson said, do you guys want big ball or do you want small ball? Small ball. Do you want to go big or do you want to go home? Because what I'm hearing everybody say is, let's punish these kids here because somebody didn't get along or somebody didn't do their job for the last 30 years. How is that their fault? How is that their fault that they're playing on a dump? So I ask you, when Tyson talked about these 12-team tournaments, how many hotel rooms do you think that would sell? Everybody's banking on the oil field to sell this hotel-motel tax. How many hotel rooms do you think would sell when you're running tournaments 8 months out of the year? Because the U-Trip does. They run them year-round. And have you guys done that type of research? And I understand your frustrations. I understand maintenance wasn't done here and why tear something down and we don't take care of the old. But that is not their fault. That is not my generation's fault. The city's done a good job of communicating where the money could come from. We could have donations from oil companies. We could make up our hotel-motel tax in 1 year with 12-team tournaments every weekend in the hotel-motel tax. I'm not a mathematician, but it's time. You know, we came here almost 20 years ago, this discussion, wait. And I'm just going to quote my favorite movie. You guys sound like Mr. Potter on It's a Wonderful Life. Wait for what?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, any other people who would like to stand up and have their voice heard on this topic tonight? Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. You make me proud to be a member of the Perry community. Council, you have heard the public proclamations and opinions. So we've heard we've conducted our public hearing. We'll move to item 9. This is to consider directing PDG Incorporated to proceed with each successful planned phase under the terms of the letter agreement dated November 26, 2014, giving notice to the city after completion of each phase of work, approve the schedule of work, and incorporate the schedule of work into a letter agreement. Authorize city manager to direct each phase of services to the completion. Take other action related to the project that may be appropriate. What is your recommendation?
I'd like to put it up for a vote for the community. I think it's too divided, and we're going to divide our town if we don't vote on it.
I have heard and listened, and matter of fact, made quite a bit of notes here, so I want you guys to know that. And I have listened to a lot of things that have been said, and I could probably argue for all kinds of things that we could say, but I do believe it is the right thing, and I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve.
I would like to make a comment. I too agree with Mr. Bole. I think it should go up for a public vote. It's a political hot potato. Let the public decide.
Thank you, Lynn. We do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I thought Betty made the motion.
Betty made a comment.
I'll make it a motion. Bring it up for a vote.
We have a motion.
We need a second, Betty.
No. You're out of order. We had a motion made, and it was called a motion. So we're needing a second. The second will be to proceed with plans and specifications.
Can we address a few things?
If you want to discuss it.
We Bill, the motion has to be seconded or it dies. And then after you make your second, or a second is made, then we call for discussion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
We have a second. Discussion. Betty?
I just think it needs to come up before the people, because that's who we're representing, and we need to know what they want to do.
Thank you.
I'm against that location. I'm against the cost of it. And I can't under any conscience vote for it for that reason. And I think I would vote for it if the people tell me that's what they want. So I think it needs to come before a vote.
Lynn, you had a comment?
I agree with that.
You had a comment?
Can we address to, because I've had concerns about the maintenance program. Can we address that? Because I think that what I heard tonight, that was the one biggest concern. We have plenty of people saying that they are all for the field, but they're really concerned about the maintenance issues. And I think that the issues that we've had on the other ball fields, there are issues at Bob Kraft and it's in my opinion that we should not fix that field, okay? I coached baseball on Mike Chambers. It was bad when my son played baseball there 15 years ago. And has it been neglected? I think so. Now then, I think that the city of Perry's done a great job with Jay Dahlman. They put up new backstops, they put up a new concession stand. They're doing a great job there. So I understand the public's concerns towards the maintenance program of this. But I think that that would help us as council people, to councilmen and women, to maybe make a better decision on this subject if we understood maybe a little more about the maintenance program.
And we haven't been told what maintenance of what's gonna cost us yet. You know, I asked for it last time and we've been switched out.
We have representatives here from the Planning Design Group. They have worked up maintenance summaries on maintenance of the field, yearly costs. We have that available to pass around, if, you know, that way this was made available, they prepared it, and it was provided today. So it wasn't available in advance to give out with the agenda. But if that's something that we want to discuss, and they're here and they can, you know, address it.
All right, I'll make a few comments on maintenance. I mean, that seems to be a big issue, and aside from the cost. A lot of our design, we've done this for 25 years. Okay. I'm Jim Crosby from Planning Design Group. We're the ones who've done this preliminary plan up to now and would proceed on if the council so chooses to do that. But maintenance is a big part of our design. What this field has, several things for design. You still have to do maintenance. You still have to mow the lawns. People still have to do that. You have to pay them, so there's still a cost. There's no such thing as, you know, we're not eliminating it. But we've tried to do everything we can to make maintenance an easier issue here. It's fully irrigated. Nobody's talked about that. It's not just a do-it-yourself irrigation system. It's a state-of-the-art automatic controller, backflow preventer, everything that you would have on fields that would be at Oklahoma State University's field. I mean, this is a top-quality irrigation system. So by saying that, that makes it easier to maintain your grass. You water it. It makes it more efficient on your cost for your water because it's a new system that, you know, would take water conservation into consideration. We have a lighting system that we've recommended, or that we would recommend for this system, that's a Musco system. You'll see that on a lot of the nicer fields. Some of these things you do pay for up front, so it increases the cost of the facility a little bit, but it pays for itself many times over in the life of a complex. Right now, I mean, I hear people saying that the fields that you guys have been playing on, you know, there's people here that have grandkids that have played on it, so it's lasted 50 years, 30 years, whatever it is. These fields need to last 50 years also and not get into the condition that you guys are talking about. We have fields out there that are 20 years old easily that are still well-maintained fields. The lighting system has a feature in it. It's got remote ballast, and nobody knows what that is, but from a maintenance standpoint, you don't have to get a bucket truck and go up on top of the pole to change the ballast if it goes out. The system has a 25-year full maintenance program in it. The city of Perry will not touch the light system for 25 years. If a lamp goes out on field number 2, before you guys even know it, Lincoln, Nebraska will know there's a lamp out on field 2 and will come replace the lamp at zero cost to Perry. It's built into the cost of their system. They maintain it completely for 25 years. At the end of 5,000 hours or 25 years, they're going to come in and change every lamp on every pole that's out there, whether it's burning or not. It's going to get changed because of the way lights work, and you guys all know this, I'm sure, but when you first screw your light bulb in, that's the brightest it'll ever be. A year from then, it's duller, 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 and it still works, but it's not providing the light. These fields are safe. They're designed for 30, 50-foot candles, 50-foot candles on the infield. That's a safety feature that we like to build in, so that kids can see what they're doing, field a ball, not get a ball bouncing up in their faces easy. The fields will be solid sodded. The concession stands are pretty bulletproof. What we have priced in there is a completely block building, concrete block building. This building is made without sheetrock in there. It's got block walls. When it's time to clean it out, you clean it out. I mean, you do your normal cleaning, but when it gets dirty, we have hose bibs under the sink in both men's and women's bathroom. You hook a hose to it. It's got a drain in there. All the petitions, everything can get wet. You can put detergent on the floor. You can hose the whole thing down. Everything from handicap, from parking spaces to the sidewalks, to the concession stand, to every toilet, to the sink is handicap accessible. It's all bulletproof. It's made so that all participants can be there. Even the concession stand window can be occupied by a handicapped person in a wheelchair. Everything we do is ADA. Maintenance-wise, we have helped the city come up with a maintenance budget. Maintenance budget, just like anything else, you can have a really low maintenance budget and have really low quality, or you can have a really high maintenance budget with tons of quality. We kind of went upper middle. It's not it's not OU Center Stadium or something, but it's nice fields. I don't know, some of the traveling teams I know in our last meeting we talked to, we've done quite a few complexes around the state. Bixby was one of them. We're just finishing up phase 2 of Bixby. It has the U-Trip tournaments. They have tournaments every week. Now what they do, and I think it's a great idea, I'd recommend it to Perry, is that you pay somebody to be a tournament director, because those tournaments do bring in a lot of money. I don't know if Jeff's here from the office. Jeff Evans is here with me. Jeff, probably, do you remember Bixby, they did some economics on some of the tournaments they had, and they had huge impacts to the city by selling hamburgers, hotel rooms, gasoline, pop, everything you guys are talking about. It's not just, the fields aren't going to pay for themselves. You're not going to have a tournament that pays $1,250,000 for a field and pays it off. It's a quality of life issue for the city. If you guys want to have a quality of life that attracts businesses and is good for your kids now and the kids in the future, then you need something nice to play on, whether that's rebuilding the old fields, building new fields, one or the other. The old fields, we did look at them. We determined that it would be more expensive to build the old fields to the quality of what we're recommending on a new site. I personally don't know if I'd want my kids playing on a landfill. Who knows what's buried in there? If you guys did tests, no telling what you'd find down there. I don't know. It might be great, but landfills settle from down. You can cap it, you can do all that, but when it settles down, a compacted cap just doesn't hold up typically. But maintenance, the parking lot, we've proposed an asphalt parking lot. That's something that if the money gets tight, it might have to be gravel in the beginning. We did Cushing's Fields. Cushing put in gravel originally, and now it's got an asphalt parking lot. They've got a real nice facility. Theirs is 10 plus years old, if I remember right. I drove by it a month ago or so, and it looks great. They have the Musco light system, the same kind of things we're talking about. But we do have maintenance in mind with all of our design, as well as making sure, because we want to be able to come by like Cushing or Bixby or Hatbox in Muskogee and see these fields 10, 20 years later and say, wow, we're proud we worked on those. So we're going to do everything we can for the city of Perry to know what they need to do, and that it's not a lost cost that gets lost, and then whether the city does it or whether you hire a private contractor or whether the Baseball Association does it, we're willing to help come up with a fertilization program. Jeff worked on the budget here today. He talked to Don Cass, who is the park superintendent for Bixby. Got good numbers. They do a great job of maintenance. So that what we priced is a pretty high quality maintenance program. I'll let Mary share that if she wants to. But Jeff, is there anything I'm forgetting maintenance wise? I mean.
Upgraded fence to avoid.
Yeah, we use Schedule 40 fencing. We use 9-gauge wire, not 11-gauge wire, so that everything's built to last. Welded backstops, not fasteners or fittings. Dugouts have safety. They have 10-foot fence around them. We do probably here an economical top to it, but it'll have a fabric top that goes over the dugout. We have a question in the back. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I agree, all that sounds fantastic. But if you can't take care of what we got, what assures us you can take care of that?
Well, we're going to keep going forever.
Just a minute. There's one at the back.
I'm serious.
I appreciate everything you have to say, but you're here as a salesman, someone that is going to gain from this. You're getting paid, right? So hearing all these wonderful things that you're doing, and that's great, but it doesn't really get to the point of what we're talking about. You're not gonna pay for the maintenance, even though you're talking about budgets and stuff like that, that's coming out of our pockets,
That's right.
right? Okay.
I understand that the city's got to come, and we're here to help them try and do that. And if I sound like a salesman, I apologize, because I'm up here to tell you what I've learned in 30 years of doing this, ma'am. And we've done probably 100 and something fields around the state. We've got a complex under construction in Sallisaw, in Oklahoma City. But I'm here to try and help you guys get educated to make a decision. You don't have to make a decision that builds the fields. I'm just here to give you the facts so that you know what to vote on if you vote on it, or you know how to react. But I'm here to answer questions and try and help the citizens, not just the council. Go ahead.
Sir, in your communities such as Cushing and some of the other ones, you had mentioned hire a tournament director. Do they just break off into like a youth baseball association and work in conjunction with the city?
Bixby, the way Bixby works, which I'll use that because that's a great example, and Jeff knows more about it than I do. Their league play is run by a league, just like you guys. They collect whatever fee it is, and they hire the umpires. They man the concession stand. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes.
And then the tournament director pays the city a fee. So she's actually not hired by the city, no. So I did imply that, and that's not correct in Bixby's case. She's an independent contractor, so the city has a contract with her. They make a contract, she signs the contract, and then she pays a certain amount for
Per game.
Yes, per game, not per field. So, you know, as you guys were saying, if you bring in a 12-team tournament, then that week, then she's paying for 12 teams times however many games that is. So she's paying a per game field, and that money goes into the maintenance funds for the park.
And when you say 12 teams, she's bringing in 80 to 100 teams.
How many fields do they have, though?
Originally, to start, they only had 4 baseball. As of about 5 years ago, they have 8 fields. So,
well, they have 8 baseball. And
8 baseball and 8 softball.
Well, and 4 of the softball were built as multi-purpose fields. So they really have 4 multi-purpose. They can play either on it. It'd be the younger kids because they're 200-foot fields.
I'll wait till the crowd quiets down. So what I'm hearing you say is that you provided the city with a budget and a maintenance schedule to pay for these fields, and a solution with the tournament director to bring in the tournaments, and the city's going to make money per game from that tournament director association, as well as your league, your Perry Kids Inc. league.
Correct.
And I have one more question. Is there any reason why these fields couldn't be used as practice fields?
We don't recommend that. They can be. In Bixby, what we did, and that's what we've talked about with the city of Perry as well. And again, there's dollars, and I'm not donating $1 million, so I've got ideas, but you guys have to figure out as a community how to fund those ideas. But in Bixby, what we did, again, using them as an example, since that's a recent project, their playing fields were basically right next to the new park where they are now. They spent, what was the budget on that, Jeff?
About $150,000.
And it's for a bigger complex. They had eight baseball fields, and they've turned it into, at Bentley, they have soccer, baseball, and softball. So they turned it into a multi-use practice facility. They put all the backstops on the corners so that the center was wide open. But it's what we've talked about here as well, to Band-Aid, or I don't know, that's not a good word, but to fix up the old fields into practice fields would be fairly inexpensive. You don't need the lights. You don't need sophisticated new fences. You don't need a concession stand. You don't need a paved parking lot. What you need is good grass and flat ground, and that's relatively inexpensive to probably go over there. And like this gentleman said, from a practice standpoint, you could probably go in there, and if it sinks in a couple of years, you just have to keep it up. But you're not doing that where your kids are playing, and they are playing there, so you still got to keep safety in mind. But we recommend not to. There's places that have to, though. I can't remember if Cushing does now or not. I think they did when they started.
that ideally you move it off, just like I heard several people comment how the old fields get trampled and how they're beat down. So your new fields are going to be nicer fields if you can do that. But also the city owns all this property down here, and this is relatively flat. This would be the phase one. You could come out and build some temporary practice fields on that other land the city owns. The land that Bryce said that they're trying to acquire extra is this land right in here, but the city owns all of this land this way, as well as the commercial park to the west.
So what I'm hearing you say is that's just a recommendation for phase two. It doesn't necessarily have
Absolutely.
to be.
We
That
just
could be a working model.
Yeah. Our agreement with the city didn't require us to do a master plan. We just looked at it and said, why not, come up with a plan that has something for everybody. Anybody from 6 to 86 can go on a walking trail and get some exercise and some of the things. And if they're duplicates, then that was our mistake. We're not here to duplicate, and add. We wanted to just provide some new things if there were. Yes,
One
ma'am.
last question.
You said that was good.
In the 20 years, sorry, in the 20 years you've been doing this and all the ballparks that you put in, has anyone not been successful?
I can't think of any.
Okay, so there's.
We've been doing it for 30 years.
For 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
She's got her
A
hand.
question from Eric. Of course, I'm baseball nuts. I watch it.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
Who was in charge in the summer up at Joe Ripley? Texas teams coming in, Kansas teams coming in last summer. Kind of a round robin. They played on OSU fields. They played on Cushing fields. They played on Perry's fields. They weren't Perry teams.
I can answer
Oh,
that.
okay. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, Oklahoma State University sponsors a high school tournament every summer. It's really a recruiting tournament for them. So those are some of the best high school age players in the country that come in. They play at OSU, they play here, they may play at Couch Park in Stillwater, and they rotate around. And that's that. If there's any Diamond Club members here, we probably got concession off of that. I don't think there's any. I don't think they charge because OSU's they don't charge any admission at any of the fields. It's a good baseball. It's good baseball.
I went there.
A lot of those, some of those kids will be in the big leagues in a few years.
Yeah, they're good.
One of the best players in the country.
Mike?
Yes, sir. I just have one more question. Out there where the practice fields are, where the landfill was, have we tested the soil to see what we may be faced with? Are PCBs buried there years ago?
But here's the history as I have heard. Number one, it was claimed that was only a landfill for trees and debris such as limbs and brush. But I have a person who has told me that there was a building tore down across the street from the YMCA years ago to put that parking in there. That building's out. I have some of the windows out of the building that were stored in my building. Those windows have less lead-based paint on them, and the windows themselves are hand-poured Ripley oak glass that has lead in it. So yes, there are contaminants in that. How much, how little, I don't know. But from a point that I had to do cleanup for some highway projects years ago, I know that the plumes of contamination can expand out depending on the moisture coming into the area. Whether it be fuel, whether it be other liquids, or whether it even be solids. I know that there are products that people look up on the internet and say these will stabilize those fields. I've used some of those products in highway construction for the last 30 years, and I've not found a mesh yet that stands up to time. I've used them under asphalt. I've used them as soil protectors. I have slopes that I've tried to maintain on Will Rogers Turnpike that fail because everything washes out around that mesh and beneath it. So they are good products when applied properly, but they're not forever. Just
Gordon,
like you said.
I think he asked if about contaminants in there. That was a city dump for about 11 years. So there's everything in that.
But I don't think it's been tested, to answer your
The
question.
problem is, you go in there testing, start trying to remove the caps that are on there now and stabilize that material as we have suggested you might have to do. And the fact that we did drill holes in it before to put up lights, and you can see the condition of those poles, I'm afraid we'd open up the biggest can of worms that this community's ever seen. Now, if you want it tested, there's people that come and do it.
I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also have the concern of the kids standing on top of it playing ball after a rain, or any other time.
Let's just hope we get a rain.
But the contaminants never go away, Mayor, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, they don't. And the material I've had to remove to take care of stuff like that, you wouldn't want to see the pile of dirt that comes out, just from a simple fuel tank at a gas station.
But in the same thing, we haven't tested the other fields either, or the proposed field.
Now, we have that in our budget to the city that we need to have soils report done before we would start construction documents.
Every engineering architect project you do, you gotta have a soils report. Man,
I just have one question. So does that, what I'm hearing is we're gonna condemn the current fields, and I'm fine with that if they're condemnable. But I wanna know that if those are not safe, and they haven't been safe for years, that you're not gonna allow kids to practice there because they're not safe. It's either is or it isn't. If they're not safe to play on, they're not safe to play on.
That's right.
that's what we're talking about, Bob
So are they
Kraft.
gonna be condemned?
I do not believe currently right now, I think I saw a team play on Bobcraft. I've coached for the past 7 years. We practiced, I think Jeff and I practiced there once, and it was very scary. I'll never go back. And personally, I do not think there needs to be any team practicing on Bobcraft Field as it stands right now.
Bobcraft, I was out there this weekend. There's a 4-foot drop from center field to
It's
home plate.
not.
You can't play out there.
The field we're talking about that's condemned is not currently utilized
That's
for
right.
games or practices.
But you
That's
all are
Bob Kraft.
talking about one of the, I mean, I
Here's
just wanna
what
be
you're-
sure that we're gonna dismantle it and take it out of use completely, because it's not fair to ask kids that we're worried about to play in an unsafe environment. That's my only
The
concern.
softball facility itself, the 3 fields they actively use now are perfectly fine.
Oh, I've heard it, yes, it's good.
And those are not gonna be abandoned. This project is not abandoning any of the ball fields that we use all around the city. We need more fields. If we're gonna build more fields, why not build the best we can and try and make some tourism dollars pay for a lot of other stuff. My point is, we're using the money as it was voted on to use in 1998 by that council for tourism, for economic, for business, specialties, and other items. That's exactly what we put this money to. That's exactly why we're collecting the tax. That's what you voted on in 2013 to increase that tax, so that we can extend whatever utilities necessary to make tourism activities or economic development or other items possible. And that's what we use the money for. That's what we'll continue to use the money. So if we don't build fields at some location, we're going to build them because people are wanting. To your point about the finance, you're totally wrong about that because you misread it. I'm going to ask our accountant here to address how that money is collected and how long it stays in the system. Not 1 year. That's the reason we pay our bills off in 20 years. It's not just 1 year. Go ahead.
Lynn set me up on that.
I'm good.
No. Lynn handed me a Hershey and said, here, eat this. And, I always do exactly what the councilman next to me said. So I was taking care of that piece. Couple of things on that, Our funding on this is the hotel motel tax. It is It is funding in to pay on a bond that we have issued as a city. That bond isn't only for this project. There are other items that are included in those bond proceeds. As council mainly here will remember, Brad being new, I'll get you up to speed on that piece again so that you know exactly what we are. But the hotel motel tax is only a small portion of what is there. I think one of the points that needs to be made related to that is whenever we went out and set the amount of debt service that we were annually able to support, one of the things I think we mentioned at that time is that this number of debt service we could have paid before we modified any of our hotel motel tax rates. It's not that we have gone out and bitten off a bigger chunk just because we went from a 5% to an 8% number. The hotel motel tax and the debt service on that hotel motel that it generated beforehand would be sufficient to cover what our expenses are related to that. These hotel motel funds are a restricted fund. It's not something that we can go out and build sewers with. We can't go out and create streets with. We can't go do those kind of things with these funds. They are limited for the economic development piece and under the state statute and under what the voters have authorized and put into place. So we only spend those funds based on what is required and what is allowed by the vote of the people.
Mr. Meacham, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that not correct what I read, what we voted on? It doesn't say economic development. Proposition 2 didn't say economic development. I may be 100% wrong about the way that it was pledged. And I don't want to argue. I understand if I'm totally off base, but I pulled it out of the Perry Daily Journal is what was voted on. That on April 2nd we voted, and forgive me for one moment here while I pull this back up, it didn't say economic development. It said, you know, the hotel tax could be used for public and capital improvements. Is sewer not public or capital improvements? Correct me if I'm wrong. Now I understand, if this is what we want to do with our money, I'm all for it. But I don't like that we sit up there and you tell me I'm wrong because it's printed right here. And with what we did vote on as people, as community members, is it was voted on that for capital improvements. It doesn't have to just be economic development. I'm okay with the ball fields. I just want to make sure that we can pay for them. Now then, we said we can only pay 1 year hotel motel tax. Is that correct? Am I reading the bond indenture that we can only pledge it 1 year at a time?
We only pledge our hotel motel tax. Yes.
1 year at a time?
1 year at a time.
Okay. And it's backed by utilities, so that if hotel motel tax goes down, our utilities are raised.
Well, and I think that's probably a misconception too, that we ought to address. Our utilities will not necessarily be raised just because if and when in the future this ever happened. We would not necessarily have to raise utilities 1 penny in order to continue to pay the debt service that's on those funds.
We wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
Because even within our current operating budget, we have about $300,000 a year that we set aside for various and sundry capital improvements across the city. Some of it goes for grant matching funds, some of it goes to pay various items whenever we need new vehicles, whenever we need new loaders, whatever may be, we spend these capital project dollars on those items. We could easily absorb within our current operating status the $250,000 of debt payment that we would have on this bond itself without raising 1 penny of utility rates going forward.
Have utilities gone up every year the last 3 years, Mary?
Utilities have gone up, yes.
I know only 1 year.
Okay.
Because
so you don't want to be.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
You don't want to be.
I know about 1 year, but
The last 2 months they've gone down.
The rate has not gone up since the last time we voted to raise it. Yes, utilities have gone up through use, but not through a rate increase.
Okay.
And to, my apologies to you, sir, but here's why we have the PMA. the PMA can go into indebtedness for more than 1 year. That's why the sales tax passes through the PMA to Perry to pay its bills by action of this council. That is, the next year's money that's collected in taxes, we'll take from the PMA and apply it to this, or not taxes, but debt service will come from those funds. Because the city cannot be indebted for over 1 year at a time. That's why cities have formed these authorities to run utilities, or to buy bonds, or to sell bonds for to be paid for by taxes of some kind. In this case, we choose to pay for these bonds off with our hotel motel tax. That's where the multi-year comes in, and the ability to do multi-years through the PMA.
And if our debt service isn't 1.25 times, if the revenue falls below 1.25, the utilities are raised, is that correct?
No.
How is that?
Let me tell you this right now. This is a commitment I made to people when I was walking door to door. Taxes will never be raised, or the electric rate will never be raised while I'm mayor. Whether it's 1 year, 4 years, 9 years, or 50 years. I'm going to commit to you that unless I'm hung, and you'll probably get to hang me. There will not be I'm only one vote, but I'm telling you, I will stand out there on the street with you against a rate increase for electricity. And this cost that we're incurring through the sale of these bonds is no different than we've incurred year after year after year to pay for a new water system that built the 5 towers around town, the new mains, and a 100-year supply of water we pick up from the lake south of us, and lowered your fire insurance rate costs for this city because we increased our ability to fight fire.
But those are things that the city needs and demands. Our ballparks are not something that we can live without our ballparks. We can't live without water and sewer.
And we're paying for water. And we need ballparks, in my opinion, for these guys in green. We need ballparks.
I'm not saying we don't need ballparks.
To increase the quality of life for them, and to also, we're looking for ways to increase the dollars coming into this town through sales tax and other reasons. The only way I can see to increase the sales tax is get more commercial businesses here that sell things to people at retail. The only way we can collect sales tax or taxes again is to have the rooms filled out here. We have a man that talked to us here recently about rooms, and his cost to develop those rooms is $50,000 per room. And he's considering very hardly about coming here and building those rooms. Every hotel out there, their cost per room is tens of thousands of dollars. It's not just one time. It's tens of thousands of dollars that they build it with and then maintain it. Yes, Mark. I'll get to you.
All right, I think I might be able to offer some closure to what we're having here. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Meacham, I appreciate your time, and I think that maybe this isn't probably the time for more public comment, and so I would made the motion that's on the floor that's been seconded. I would like to call a point of order and let you guys vote on that and really take into consideration that maybe we do need some more time to talk about this as a community. Let our people go and talk to those kinds of people. And I really appreciate you guys letting us jump in here in the middle of the meeting because I know that probably is not part of the procedure. So, Mr. Beecham, thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
So with that, I'll call questions so you guys can vote and move on.
Mayor,
that's not your deal.
And not that, I just want to make sure that there's a couple of points of order that I want to make sure this council understands, before we go a little further. And I know Mr. Kennedy might end up clarifying the final part of that related to the hotel motel expenditures. But our commitment of funds, we do have a 1-year commitment of funds. You are correct. To the extent, effectively, that it is within our budgeted revenue numbers. We also get to include in that number all of our carryover fund balances. To date, if you look at that, we'd have a little over $1 million by itself that we can commit to that piece. It's a long-term thing, and we can talk about that further. We can talk about that during budget sessions. But there is a clarification to what you were saying, and I just want to make sure that, yes, you are correct in that commitment of 1 year worth of funds. There's also some other caveats at which we can change that number, and we can actually increase that for a longer term period than just 12 months if we meet other criteria from the financing side. All of those, though, are state statutes. Those are just following the state laws that we have to turn around and look at every day and make sure what we're doing.
Question?
Can I ask, I'm trying to catch up here, but I think the maintenance plan that you gave us was pretty self-explanatory. I like this. But I do have questions about the plan itself. In the proposed agreement here, in section 8, in 8A, it talks about additional services where you would plan improvements for the existing Hector Tovar complex. And we've talked a lot today about how bad they are and everything. Did you guys have, I know you haven't paid you to design it or anything, so I know you don't have it fully thought out, but was there something that we had in mind when we put this clause in this agreement, or some method of remediation of those ballparks that you had in mind when you did this?
Well, our proposal was basically based on a budget of the $1.25 million. So if you spend it all in one place, that's what our fee was, would go. But if you spent part of it at the old fields and part of it at the new fields, then our fee still covers wherever you spend your money. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I looked at this section 8 here as in addition to the 1.2.
Yeah, it's just a standard clause in a contract to have an additional services clause, and I think we put hourly rates in there probably. Yeah, and it says that we can do anything that you guys ask us to as additional services. There's nothing that I had in mind when that went in there necessarily.
It just called out the Hector Tovar complex to be used as practice, which is one of my concerns, is where do we practice if we can't practice on the other fields, and these fields are in such bad shape. Then I didn't know if there was something behind this clause that.
One thing that I think is real important about the practice fields, that's their suggestion. It's not our rule.
Right.
And so we get to make that up, and we get to make that choice on whether we want someone to practice out there.
Right.
And so we have to, I think, assess our needs at that moment when that field's there, find out where we are, and if we do use it to practice on, then we have to make up guidelines for it to be practiced on. But that's our rule to make. And I know it's their suggestion. I grew up in Broken Arrow where we had a huge complex and we could not practice on the fields we played on. That's Broken Arrow where there's a lot of land. And so, we may have to make some concessions here to make sure we got our kids practicing, because it's difficult right now to be able to hold practice. I, tonight, could not hold a practice because of rain. And we have a game Thursday. I have no other time this week that we get to practice and we're going to go right into our game. Our last practice was last Thursday. We have no other time that we get to practice this week because the fields are totally unavailable because we have no practice area. And so, in tonight, we had 15 minutes of rain, or maybe half-hour rain. We had to cancel our games tonight on Mike Chambers because of that little bit of rain. We haven't had a whole lot of rain. And so, because of the condition of the field, we had to cancel our games tonight in just a little bit of rain. The field needed the rain, but it just took us right out. And those are games we're going to have to make up, trying to figure out how to do that in our schedule, because we don't have the fields available to play.
Well, and I'll comment on that too, as far as practice on them. Really, the key thing is probably in your first year, you just lay new sod down. Now, I mean, we're not going to want to. Doesn't matter what we do. If you lay new sod, if it's ready next year, we may want to limit, the amount of practice there. But after you get through a year and you establish the grass in there good, I think it's a lot easier to be able to practice on those fields. So again, it's looking at the long-term picture, not just, I don't think you ought to get focused on not being able to practice on them, period. I think over time, when the fields get established, hey, I was part of our football field of working out there and cutting all the old sod out of it that was bad and putting new sod in. And there's a period of time that you want people off of it. But that doesn't mean it's forever either, so.
My next question is, in any project, there's risks to schedule and costs. What are your risks in this project, you think, as it relates to both of those things? And then what are you doing to mitigate the risk?
Well, our estimate to you is an architect's estimate. It's not a guarantee that your fields can be built for that price. We have a pretty good track record of coming in below the architect's estimate, but I'm not here tonight to tell you we're going to. But we build in, and Jeff works hard on that. He does the budgeting, and we do a lot of projects, and our budgeting comes from projects that we've just recently finished, not projects from 10 years ago at Cushing, but we keep a log of, and we do a modified unit cost bid form for the contractors, and this will go out to public bid just like all public money has to do, and it'll be advertised and has to go to the lowest, most responsible bidder. That won't be our choice. We're not a contractor, and we don't select that contractor for you. It'll be a public bid. There's no guarantee from PDG's, you know, that we can, there's no guarantee that if we hire XYZ contractor and we give him a 200-day contract, that we can guarantee that he's going to do that and fulfill that contract. We're going to have liquidated damages in a contract that if he doesn't get it done in the time frame that we put into the contract, that he has to pay some amount of liquidated damages. That's hard to collect, I'll tell you right now, because you've got to justify it. And it's usually $250 to $500 a day, so it's not a lot of money if he's 10 days late or something. But we're here to help manage the project for you, and I'd welcome you to call any of our past clients, not select ones, any of them, and we do a pretty good job, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but we do a pretty good job of bringing a project in on time and on budget.
So you have incentives built in with your contractors to?
No, we don't gain anything more. We're under contract with the city. We get nothing if he's early and nothing if he's late. We're here to work for you to make sure that you get the best product you can on time and on budget.
I understand.
I'm going to make one more comment. Number one, this project does not come in lieu of anything else. That is, we are not taking sanitary sewer money away from you to fix the sewers. We have a 5-year program, 3-year program we're trying to put together for our streets, our water and sewer, and our electric facilities to make sure we address those in the areas of the most need. And we are putting that together. We've got to hit the streets hard. We had a tough winter. Patching is not going to do it all. Patching's being done, but you know how long patches last. We have got to address our roadways, road beds, our water lines. We've got some very aged water lines. We've got sanitary sewer backups right now that are historical and should have been addressed 10 years ago that we've got to do. And my point is that this is not taking funds away from any of those activities. You had a comment, Mike?
Yeah, Mayor, I guess I was going to ask this gentleman here, when you subcontract out, do you do it that it's the lowest bid or the lowest and or best bid? Well, it reads in the contract, lowest and or best bid, but to disqualify somebody, you've got to have some pretty good backing to disqualify somebody. Well, I understand that, but I mean, it also protects you too. I spent 15 years on a school board, and I learned the lesson that way. Nobody works for PDG. They work for the city. The contract will be between a contractor of total unknown. I have no idea who will even bid the project, but that contractor will enter into contract with the city. Our contract is to help do project management for the city. We're going to make visits, we're going to interpret the plans. If there's a change order, we're going to be the person to help the city evaluate that and decide yes or no. If there's interpretation of the plans, we're there every week to do that. We're not a construction management company. Okay, you should not simply do the architecture and then turn it over to the city, so they will subcontract. We do construction administration is what it's called, and that's 20% of our fee is to do construction administration. Okay. And so
We represent the city. Another name for it is the city's representative or the owner's rep. And we're representing the city in making sure that you guys get a fair deal.
To add to what Jim was saying is, here I will be here when the project starts, once it goes under construction by a contractor. Here I will probably be here every 2 weeks, is what we typically start out on construction meetings, because it's just dirt work and some other things. We'll come in, make sure the contractor's going by the plans, answer any questions that they have. After the contractor gets moving a little bit faster, a little bit more work's going on, we'll start coming once a week typically, and we then will have more questions possibly, or more things to verify that they're doing correctly. We're doing that, as Jim said, on behalf of the city, not on behalf of PDG or anybody else.
The city will need to have a daily inspector that goes out there. He doesn't have to solve problems or anything. He's just there to make sure that they're following the plans. And if they have questions, that he gets with us, and we, as a group, being the city and the city's representative, make the decisions on if you're in construction. Stuff happens in construction. There's no such thing as you hand somebody a set of plans and there's never a question and it gets built. There's questions and things, and we're there the whole time, the final inspection and everything. Thank you. Thank you all. It's time for the council to make its decision.
I would like to make one remark.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I think everybody needs to know that we've been getting $40,000 on our hotel motel tax. The last 2 months, it's gone down to $32,000. We're committed for $27,000 every month. That only, and the maintenance on this is almost $4,000 a month. So that would leave us with maybe $1,000 in the black. And we already have 11 parks that we maintain, but that we don't do a very good job. And I think it needs to come to a vote.
Sorry for our park coordinator.
I have a comment. I'm not too concerned about our practice fields for the standpoint that if we're playing games out here, we're going to free up time on our fields we have now. I do agree with Mrs. Connect. I do think that from the city standpoint, we do probably need to deem that one field inoperable.
Yes.
Question I have for you, would it be feasible to make these other two fields in this project as practice fields?
Well, what we're doing in Salsaw right now, and Jeff, on Salsaw, how did we come in on our architect's estimate compared to the budget?
We were about $100,000 under our architect's estimate for the base bid. 100 to 200, it was in that range. I don't remember exactly.
We're building 8 fields, but the reason I said that relating to Sallisaw instead of Bixby this time is we did 4 softball fields, 4 or it's under construction right now, just getting ready to start. It just went out, I mean, it was just open bids about 3 weeks ago or something. But it's going to be 4 baseball and 4 softball, but we graded off another area that doesn't have any backstops or anything, but it's graded flat and it's grass, and so that would cost a little bit of money, and again, money again, but you know, that would be a superior idea, is to just do some minimal grading there and just put up a practice backstop for now, but it would be graded as if those fields were going to be finished out. So the same 1.5% slope on the outfield and everything would be graded just like a field, and then that way you could use those 2 right there at the facility for practice, and then they're already set up to be expansion fields later if we grade it.
If you have a tournament, the teams go out there and warm up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you know, you could they have those backstops that are mounted on wheels, you know, you can move them. And
that's what we used at Bixby. Well, we didn't have the wheeled ones, but
I think Burl used to have one in his house when he was born. All right.
The other thing, you want to talk?
I just thought.
Could I ask one question?
Wait.
Lynn wants to ask.
No.
I think I would just ask if there's any more discussion.
Well, I've heard.
From this group, I guess.
Lynn, go ahead.
Well, this is just a follow-up question on the maintenance. It's almost $43,000 a year, and that's estimates of the cost, right?
Yes.
Based on today's cost for electricity, water,
Well,
labor.
yes, on an average cost for electricity. No, I did not call, or Jeff did not call the city and say, what's your base rate for electric per kilowatt, and we didn't do an energy analysis
That's based on superintendents that Jeff called in the last week to gather this data for this and kind of taking an average. For instance, on labor, we assume $12.50 an hour for the labor.
13 plus.
A labor burden of 30% if it was a city employee. Now, if that's not a city employee, then that's different, but we assumed a city employee at $13 an hour with a labor burden of 1.3, 30%. Which
And we
is
rounded that up. It was $16.90 an hour. We rounded it to $17 an hour.
I'm not too concerned with the labor, there's fuel costs, gasoline, probably diesel.
Yeah,
herbicide,
that was based
pesticide.
on the park director from Bixby telling us what he spent on fuel for the mowers and for the fertilizer. That's the actual cost he spent for the 4 fields for fertilizer. And he uses top quality fertilizer. I'm here to tell you, you can maintain that for half as much and have an okay field. But that, if anybody that's played at Bixby, and I know somebody said they played out there, I don't know if any of these other teams have, but those are top-notch grass. I mean, the facility's nice, but his grass is immaculate for a youth baseball field.
His background is a golf course superintendent, so he loves grass. So it's a whole different ballgame when he's maintaining a field versus somebody else.
One thing I can tell you is, we have a quad field right now that's being maintained, softball field, that is done extremely well. And we can get numbers, you know, from that to see what the fuel cost and all that stuff.
And we still have homework we need to do.
Are we also gonna have to hire somebody to manage this and maintain it and?
What about security at night? Because you've got these ball fields all lit up and people are come off I-35. You're gonna have somebody out there
There's
to
not
make
that
sure
many
nothing
evil people
happens.
on I-35.
Oh, yeah.
The softball fields get broke into more than anything.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about
But
somebody
here's the
grabbing one
deal.
of our kids.
The police chief said this would be on their route every night for patrol. Now, I don't know if you've stole grass or not. I don't know if you stole chain link fence or not, or sprinkler heads, but,
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about somebody taking one of our kids off the park or something like that. I am. We're right on I-35. We've got people.
Well, that has to boil down to a parent's responsibility.
If they're not there, what are you gonna do? That's a coach's responsibility?
Yes.
Yes, today, wherever we're at.
And you're gonna have, this is my concern too, you're gonna have children at different age levels. So you're gonna have a child, a single parent, have a child out at I-35, and then a child down here, and you can't get there in time. And the coach, he's gonna have 10 kids he's got to deliver. What's he gonna do? Is he just gonna sit out there? And I want small. I don't want big. I want it for these children that are left.
Kids and not for money.
And I told Amy,
Money goes too big too.
yeah, we're not Bixby, we're not Broken Arrow, we're not Stillwater, we're a small town, and that's what I want. A
But we wanna
neighborhood
be
that cares
competitive.
about our children.
Somewhere else. Yeah, move somewhere else.
Folks, we're not going back into the public hearing,
Okay.
all right? We're not going back into the public hearing. This is council time.
Okay. I just,
Big or little isn't the issue here. The issue is, are we going to sign a contract with this company to continue with the plan, documents, and specifications? This is not the meeting to decide what you're asking. This is a meeting to decide, are we going to continue with the planning and the specifications? That's what's before the council. Comments from the council? Questions from the council?
We had a motion and a
Yes.
second.
Yes.
We also had Betty.
She wants to make a
Where
motion.
are we at on that?
Betty made a comment, and after we had a motion, she tried to make a motion out of it, which is out of order.
I can't, my motion won't go until you take it.
Till we
You
have
have
a
to
vote.
address, you have to.
I just want to make that clear where we're at. So.
Are we ready to take action?
Would you restate the motion so everybody knows?
Yes, I will. Number 9, consider directing PDG Incorporated to proceed with each successive plan phase under the terms of the letter of agreement dated November 26, 2014, giving notice to the city after completion of each phase of work, approve the schedule of work, and incorporate the schedule of work into the letter agreement. Authorize the city manager to direct each phase of services to completion. Take other action related to this project as may be appropriate. Roll call, please.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman.
No.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner. No. Johnson.
Yes.
Can I still make it, put it up for a vote?
And that is,
That we, before we proceed with this, that we put it up for a vote for the citizens of Perry to vote on?
no.
Okay.
We don't have that on the agenda. We could, if we had that on the agenda, we could certainly discuss it.
Okay.
And do, what we had is approve, you know, the architect to continue on the plans. That's the only piece, is the public hearing in that. But it can be put on a
Do we even know how much his plan's gonna cost us?
Yes, we do. In your item 9 of your packet. Page 2, item 6.
Well, I'm just, we've done, number one, schematic design phase is just what we completed and what they presented. The second is the preliminary design phase, 30,000. Final design phase, 45,000.
So it's gonna cost us $45,000 just for the plans?
No. It's gonna cost more than that.
We're looking at it.
We finished phase 1, we still got phase 2, then phase 4.
And we were only voting on phase 1, correct?
Nope, we've done phase 1.
That's what this is right here.
Phase 1 is this.
She wanted to know, well, you heard her. And then the cost is, that you add those last 3 items up, and that's what the total bill will be.
Do we have to approve every phase?
But we approve every phase for payment.
well, what happens under the motion is that they have a duty to tell us as they come up
Correct.
to a phase.
Right.
Okay, and then you authorize Mary to tell them to move on. Now, you know, she better be, she better know that you guys are okay with that, you know? But in order to get the thing moving, it's to authorize her to say, okay, move on, okay?
That's just what
But we
we've
can
done.
put this on subsequent, you know, agendas if you want to, but we have this tight schedule, and if you want to meet that schedule, then you've got to have an administrator tell them to move forward with it. I mean, this thing ought to move pretty fast, and you understand, all we've done is authorize this, these plans and specs. That's all we've done at this point.
But it's just like when we were doing the plans and specifications for the sidewalk project. We paid them as they went along and developed the plans to the final phase for bidding. This does the same thing. You see in item 4, the bidding phase has a price, and they submit this out to public notice for bidding. And then the construction administration phase he is talking about earlier, them visiting the site. And unlike our other representative, they actually will be here to represent us. So what this does, Betty, is tell Mary they got to coordinate together, and when they send the bill in, we approve it. as we have in construction projects and other design projects.
So it doesn't matter what the citizens of Perry want, we're gonna go through this. Correct.
Well, you know,
I kinda heard being 50-50 tonight, so I mean.
Well, and it wasn't just people.
We won't know.
Exactly.
You know, we won't know unless we vote on it.
Clayton's just brought up about the number of people here. It should be inclusive of everyone that will get out and vote.
I mean, the fact that we had so many people here says it's a very volatile thing.
But we've all talked to people outside of this meeting now.
I've had-
People have called me.
I have not heard one person that liked it.
That's
I've had
that's
calls-
you, you're one person too. We've
I
had
have-
several people around this horseshoe that have had a lot of support on it. And I mean, I've been quiet and haven't spoke up, but I will, because everybody that got up here and spoke, there wasn't one person that said they didn't want something better for our kids.
I don't have a problem with that. I think the location's wrong. I think the money's too much. I think we're gonna end up in 5 years, we're gonna be having to raise our
I can tell you
utility
that
rates.
price is cheap if you
Then
look at what
fine.
it costs. to
I'll
get
have
it.
them come to you and our utility
sorry,
rates
folks,
go up.
we're out of order now.
Yes, we are.
Discussion and vote has happened. You can go home and get mad and throw your shoes at the wall, whatever you want to do. But right now, we're going to the city manager's report, item 10.
Yippee.
And this guy can leave if he wants to.
Have a good night.
In your packets is a written report. I'm going to give an abbreviated version of that, of this. But I would like to celebrate the citywide cleanup that was last Saturday.
Let's go ahead. Thank you.
Want me to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. We had an extremely successful citywide cleanup last Saturday. Upwards to 50 people who were there to help, included Boy Scout Troop 912, their leaders, Davis Sanitation, offered up their assistance, Northern Oklahoma Metals, Main Street of Perry, community volunteers, city workers. We had 3 30 cubic yard roll-off dumpsters that were packed full, and we had to smash the stuff down, you know, to make sure that. Yes, and a trash compactor truck was full. There's 360 less tires around our community because of this cleanup day. People brought 360 tires. We had 17 residents that requested pickups at their home, and so we were able to assist 17 residents to clear out some of the things that were unwanted at their homes, but they were unable to be able to, you know, to do that for themselves. So we feel really proud. Appreciate the you know, folks that came out and helped, and it's kind of one of those things that we like to make this service available. You know, the kind of having a hard time concentrating
Yeah, excuse me, Mason.
because of the discussion
Could you
around
guys maybe
that.
step outside? I'm sorry. She can't.
I'm sorry. I have a hard time concentrating when I hear other people talking. I want to listen in on that conversation instead of focusing what I should be doing.
That's okay, I mean, you need to.
Okay. I'm going to skip through the other items, but there is one that's really important. We have started preparing and starting work on the fiscal 15 budget. It sounds weird saying 2015 to me, but the council will be receiving a proposed budget at the May, I said 5th, but that may or may not be right. Is that right? Okay, the May 5th council meeting. And then we've scheduled a special council meeting for them to really get into the discussion, get into the meat of the budget. That'll be Thursday, May 15th at 4 p.m. right here in this room. And so, the budget process has begun, and not everybody may look forward to it like Russ and I do, but you know, it's kind of fun for us.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, I look forward.
Oh, okay. Yes,
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 I
like
look
we look forward to it.
Otherwise, I think I'm gonna pass on the rest and we'll move on, unless there's other.
What is the city personnel update? I'm kind of.
Oh, personnel update,
Yeah.
well, we've hired a couple of new people at the library, part-timers.
To watch kids?
Watch your kids.
I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Let me say Karen Higby has returned to the library and is working part-time. And Dulcie Summers has also been hired to work part-time. So we're excited about some additional part-time help at the library. We're taking applications for summer help for a lifeguard at the pool, mowers, summer help at the street and parks, and I'm not sure what else, but
Electric
oh yes, and we're advertising for electric linemen. We've made an offer on a police officer position, so we're looking forward to possibly having another police officer on the force. There's probably some we're missing, but that's pretty close.
I appreciate you keeping the electric department all together.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, I'm glad.
And we're just about ready to, I think, we've interviewed for electric. If we haven't already offered, we're getting ready to make an offer.
For another lineman?
Yes, a grounds person, apprentice.
Apprentice.
He holds a flashlight.
At least he's not going out in the middle of the night with their back on.
Thank you, Mary. Mr.
Hey,
Meach.
I want to give kudos to the electric department too. I called, we had our electric, I think transformer went out apparently or something the other night. I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, no electricity. And by 4:15, it was back up and going. So my wife had her curling iron when she got up at 5, so the day went well. So kudos to the electric department.
I would note that on Friday, April 18th, it was National Lineman Appreciation Day. And so, we do appreciate keeping the lights on.
15 minutes after I called, he was at my house.
That's awesome. Good job. Mr. Meacham.
I'm gonna make this about as quick as you guys have ever had one, from me, because it is 9:15 at night. We're on track. All departments are looking good. Our budget number, percentage-wise, is 75% this month. We were there, or under that number for sure in all of our expenses. Our revenues have exceeded that piece, except for water. We will expect some water increases coming back in the spring. These next couple of months we'll make some up. I don't know that we're gonna make up all of our budgeted number, but even if we can get the water department to break even this year, that's our goal at this point. And so, really, I don't have anything bad to tell you. We are starting budgets. We've already started projections for next year on quite a few things. It'll be another fun budget season as we go through it. Hopefully, with department heads' involvement and everything else, we'll have you guys good numbers and be ready to roll early May, so that the first meeting in June, we can adopt the budget and get on with the rest of our year. So, any questions? Under a minute. Thank you. Already answered Betty's questions. I didn't have to.
On item 11, we're going to receive a group insurance presentation. Representative Machino Huddleston and Associates
Bill,
and Direct Action.
hold that microphone,
And
please.
we may do and direct actions may be appropriate for that. We have presenting here is Kelly. She is from this firm.
Well, good evening.
Thanks for staying.
It was a great meeting to attend, let me tell you. And I've been contemplating moving to a small town, so this has been very interesting. So, I live in Moore, so we are a big baseball town. So it was very interesting. That's why I told Dixie I was going to just sit in and listen to you guys, because we have 2 huge baseball facilities. So it was very interesting to hear the different comments. But I'm going to talk to you about the health insurance. As y'all are aware, last year you voted for us to move the health insurance. We were a September renewal, and we moved it to a July renewal last year in order to keep on your fiscal budget. So This is the first time, I think Mary and Dixie and I were talking. This is actually the first time we've gotten the budget or our renewal so early so that we could get in front of you guys. So in your packets, we actually did include a copy of what the renewal actually came in as. And we have a proposal from United Healthcare. They are making an offering to us, and that's what we wanted to present to you guys tonight to see if you're willing to accept this offer or if we need to send the group benefits out to market. But United Healthcare came in with a 19% increase and wanted to explain where this increase is coming from. As you'll see, we've X'd out the increase, and United Healthcare came back and said, if you guys want to go ahead and make a decision, we'll do an early renewal. They'll give us a 10% increase. What this renewal consists of is, as you've heard, healthcare reform is in play. As of January 1st of this year, all insurance premiums an employer has to pay taxes on it. So 6% of your increase is nothing but the healthcare taxes that you now have to pay. Healthcare Oklahoma estimates it 6%, Blue Cross estimates it to be around 4%, Aetna estimates it to be around 5%. They are responsible for paying those insurance taxes to the government, so that's why the estimates come out a little bit different. So depending on who you talk to with the insurance carriers, that's why the estimates are a little bit different. But UHC does estimate that their tax liability this next year is going to be 6%. So 6% of your renewal is nothing but healthcare tax. The next 4%, 4% of the new increases is due to the enhancements that we have to add to your benefits this year. So healthcare reform requires that we change all of the office visit copays, all of the prescription copays, and all of the deductible now has to count towards that out-of-pocket maximum. Where in the past, a member had to pay their deductible, then the insurance paid the 80% liability, the member's 20% once it totaled up to $3,000, then it hit 100% liability. Well, now that $3,000 is going to include the deductible and include any of the copays that they pay for office visits and prescriptions. So it's going to be a true out-of-pocket maximum for the members. So the members' liability is going to be $3,000 this year, and that includes all copays and everything. If you have a dependent under the age of 19, they will have a 0 copay. So that is also a new enhancement. And they're also adding a mail order drug benefit for the employees in that if I use the mail order program, it's going to be 2.5 copays instead of the full 3. So there is an incentive. Whether we want to promote that or not is up to you and how we promote that to the employees, because we also don't want to hurt the pharmacies that are here in town. So I'll just kind of leave that up to you guys on how you want us to promote that. And then the last update or the last enhancement that's actually going to be on this benefit is on the specialty drugs. And we do have some of the employees are on some high cost medications, and in the past they've had to either pay 20% or 25% of the cost of the drug. It will now be a flat copay, and that will also count towards that out-of-pocket maximum. So some of the individuals who have been paying some high cost medications or paying for a $35 drug or a $60 drug per month, those copays have just not been counting towards anything. So we can actually have an employee reach their 100% benefit and never even meet their deductible now and hit 100% benefit for the rest of the year. So this all goes into effect as of July 1st. So any deductible that's already been counted towards this year doesn't get counted towards that out of pocket, but anything after July 1st it does. And so we have a few employees it's going to help out. One thing to remember also, United Healthcare came in and said that City of Perry is actually 18% what their manual rates are right now. So if we were going out to market and we sent City of Perry to United Healthcare, their manual rates would automatically come back 18% higher than what your current rates are. They also said that we have an age factor increase of by 6.1% this year. So obviously we got older, but then we hired some that were a little bit older, so our age factor went up. Trend this year is 9.1%. And what trend means is that whatever healthcare costs today, next year it's going to cost 9.1% higher. So we automatically know that our claims costs are going to go up just due to that factor. City of Perry actually had a 64% loss ratio, which typically with a 64% loss ratio, we would say you need to go out to market. But we have to look at some other factors for you guys. And one thing that we looked in is that you have 14 claims that are over $10,000. For a group your size, 4 is the normal. So if we send your group out to market, the insurance carriers are going to look at that and they're not going to know, because we can't get this data on, because of your size of group, is it still ongoing, is it not ongoing? So we're going to take a risk of possibly losing that 9% if we go out to market. So we have one case that is sitting at almost $50,000. It is actually better for a group your size to have a claim that's over, to have all of those added together and have a claim over $100,000 than it is to have 14 under 10, or around that 10,000 mark. So we've got some liability that's sitting out there that kind of is a risk to us insurance carriers to send you out to market. So we are a little bit concerned about that. So our recommendation as we come in is looking at where UHC's manual rates are, looking at the healthcare reform where we know 6% is taxes and 4% is enhancements. We're sitting at a 10%, and that's what they're offering us. So technically, if we didn't have healthcare reform, we would be getting a 0% increase. But due to healthcare reform, we are getting the 10% increase this year. So we know we've got a minimum on the table of a 10, but if we want to go out to market, that automatically moves to a 19%, and we take a risk out there. So one thing I was explaining to Bryce and Mary and Dixie is some of, and I don't have all the city calculations. I wish I would have grabbed those before I left, but we have delivered a 63% this year, and then right before I left the office, I heard that we had our largest, which is 115% increase. So due to healthcare reform, that's what we're seeing. So I say take the 10% because that's really good, just because of experience and what we're dealing with right now. So do y'all have any questions on any of the healthcare reform stuff that we've got, or any of the claims data that we've got right now? And again, we're limited on the claims data just because your group's under 100 actually insured on the plan. Once we get over 100 lives, then we can get more detailed information. So
I just have a comment. I deal with individual health care all the time with myself, and I'm always seeing big increases every year in that area, high deductibles. And so this copay thing with the kids, wow. I mean, that's pretty cool to have that. And
UHC is the only company that's doing that.
Yeah.
Blue Cross is not, and neither is Aetna.
Yeah, we, and I've been under United Healthcare, individual healthcare before, but 10%'s, from my perspective, I think we normally budget 18, right?
Well,
every year.
Part of the problem is that the
Right.
renewal has been September 1.
Right.
And so we've had to kind of guess at budget time.
But you normally are budgeting 18.
Normally, yes. Whenever we put the budget together, what I would do was we'd go out and look at what our other communities had been experiencing, what we were seeing kind of across the board, and take a number and put that in there.
Yeah.
18 in the past, we've had 16 and 18s in there in the past to make sure we came in underneath. And we've always come in. As a matter of fact, 10% is going to be one of our highest actual rates, increase rates that we've had in the last 4 years.
We've actually kept it pretty in the single digits the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last 4 years, we've always been in the single digits.
And I think we would have been able to maintain that if we didn't have to deal with healthcare reform and the requirements that are implemented on you. Now, one requirement that we did have removed was and you probably heard about it, is that some groups were limited to a $2,000 deductible, and that was removed, I think, about 3 weeks ago. So as we're continuing to go along with this healthcare reform, it does keep getting changed. And that's where, we go through and we make sure that you guys are going to stay compliant in that aspect. So.
Did you say that our increase will be 9% next year? Is that what you said?
I would love for it to be 9%.
Or did you say it was going to be an automatic increase? I thought you said about 9%.
No, that's the trend increase. So medical cost is going up 9.1% automatically. So the claims loss factor that I have right now, that'll be 9% higher next year. So.
We just discussed it.
And the other points that I have, and I think Dixie put that in there as well, is the dental insurance came back with a rate pass. So we have no increase in the dental, which that is completely paid 100% by the employee, but we want to let you know that their premium cost will remain. And then on the vision insurance, it did come back with a 5% increase, but on vision insurance, when you're talking an $8 premium, 5% increase, I think it was 40 cents. So very minimal. And the life insurance products and the disability products, those we did not move to the July 1st because you guys were in a rate guarantee. And if we touched that, they were going to reevaluate your rates. So we will look at those come September. But we're hoping we can just get those to maintain. So.
Russ, what does that do to our budget?
Well, overall, you're, at a 10% number, we're looking at about an $80,000 increase in our healthcare costs this year. You know, we'll build that number in just like we've done in every other year. That's just covering what we've historically covered on the employees, covering 100% of the employees, passing on the increase on the spouse. It'll cost us about $80,000.
Plus if we give them a raise, 3%.
Plus whatever the raise comes in.
Now, one thing also to point out, we looked at your HRA, your health reimbursement account, and you guys have quite a bit of funds that are sitting aside in that, and it's because your claims are so good right now. I'm getting that. So we are looking at this and we're evaluating the different plans. And if you do need to budget something else, and one thing that we recommend that with a budget of 10% is really to stay right where you're at. But if we have to come in lower because you're looking at costs, we can increase the deductible a little bit or increase the copays. So that is an option that we do have out there with UHC, and they will evaluate that based on the 10% renewal. So.
And that's something in the past years that we've done in order to keep that percentage down. We've made those adjustments to the plan in order to keep, to get our 8s and our 6s that we've had.
Mm-hmm. So, but your employees are doing phenomenal on the benefits. We looked at emergency rooms; they're maintaining that. Your claims cost is not really anything out of the ordinary that we're seeing with any of our others. I mean, really, truly, this year you guys just got hit with healthcare reform. Your claims are where they need to be, except for the fact that we have 14 over 10,000. And when we look at those, it was kind of one type issues, not a whole lot of ongoing. At least we hope. I can try to predict, but. Any questions or?
Well, I think you make some sense and better jump on this or we may be getting hit higher.
What do you recommend our broker
I'll make
do?
the motion, we stay right where we're at with UHC.
So is as presented. You have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Dixon.
Stroller,
Yes.
Dow,
Yes.
Moxley,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Norman,
Yes.
Nation,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes.
Warner, yes, Johnson.
Yes.
You're all tired, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate you staying through this. Great. Consider approval of resolution 2014-04 authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a right-of-way public utility and encroachment agreement with Oklahoma Department of Transportation. You know, we passed on this last time, voted no. Anyway, with a visit with the division engineer at ODOT here in Perry, he is going to submit to us a letter of commitment to take care of any street that we or is deemed a detour route when we start the construction of the bridge just east of the railroad tracks and west of 86. That included patching prior, maintaining during, and then doing a asphalt surface back over that street, blade lay method. That means blade lay is, they do not have this, ODOT does not own a lay down machine. as you've seen Evans used all over town laying asphalt on the streets. They lay the asphalt out in a windrow, and then a blade operator, motor grader operator comes out and spreads that, and then a steel wheel behind him compacts it. That's called blade lay asphalt. They will do that over the streets that the ODOT and we determine will be the detour. Now for 86 coming north and wanting to go westbound, they'll have to go around the old highway to the right, go up Boundary, and then on 64 across town to get wherever they want to go westbound. Anyone wanting to go east to south will have to use the opposite, go over 64, down Boundary, and then to 86. We have commented to the chief here, who's with communication with the Highway Patrol and the permitting office of the Highway Patrol not to permit trucks come up 86 during the time of this construction, because they're just going to get hung up. That's the the wide loads especially, and some heavy loads, because that will really deteriorate the pavement on any route they take, no matter which route. So they're going to have to permit them to take different routes than up 86 and cross the Cedar to get to I-35. So with that, the division engineer begged us to pass this resolution as submitted by the lawyers in Oklahoma City.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Do we have a second?
Yep.
Got a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Stroller?
Yep.
Dow?
Yes.
Moxley?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Norman?
Yes.
Nation?
Yes.
Wade?
Yes.
Warner? Yes. Johnson?
Yes. We're going to have a presentation of quarterly report from Jason McClarty, Code Enforcement Officer, direct action deemed as advised.
Short and sweet. Yes. I don't know that I need this microphone, but because this is my first quarterly report to the city council, and because some of you are newer and may have not experienced a quarterly report from the code enforcement yet, I'm going to real quick go over a couple of what my procedures are when I do code enforcement. And we have the procedures because property owners have rights, of course. They've got to be given time to repair or clean whatever violations I bring to their doorstep and let them know they're in violation of. But the first thing I try to do, there's verbal warnings and notices, of course. I always try to notify verbally if I can get in contact with the property owner, let them know what the violation is, let them know that they need to remedy that violation. That's always the best option for me. It gives them, just that opportunity to not get something in the mail from the city, and just for me to talk to them and see maybe why the situation in their yard is the way it is, and help them, give them options on fixing it. If I can't get in contact with somebody, or somebody is not heeding the verbal warning, then I go with the notice. Depending on what the violation is, the notice can be anywhere from a 10-day cleanup period to a 30-day cleanup period. But the notice gives me the authority to write citations if they don't comply within those periods. So some of the numbers you're going to see on the chart, they're verbal or notices. The variation of the notices that I have, again, it goes back to what kind of violation it is. But like I said, it could be 10 days or it could be 30 days. Or in the case of the dilapidated housing or structures or property, it's it's deemed up to the hearing official on what he decides length of time period that they're going to get to try to remedy the violations. So with that, we'll get to the numbers on the next page. I'll start with the total notices that I wrote in the 3 months was 39 notices. I did 33 total warnings, and out of those I ended up issuing 4 citations. All total for the code was 86 verbal warnings, notices, and citations. And you break that down, of course I didn't have any high grass or weed violations during this time period, but I had 53 open storage violations, 16 trash accumulation, 7 junk vehicle, 10 miscellaneous violations, and 23 building notices. Basically that means I added 23 different buildings to the dilapidated hearing process that are going to monthly hearings. The next page is focusing more on open storage and explaining exactly what open storage is. Basically, our ordinances say that materials are not supposed to be stored in the front or the side yards. If you can see it from a public right-of-way, it shouldn't be there. Basically, what our ordinance says. Common occurrences, items on the front porch, that includes indoor furniture. They should be indoors, not out on the front porch.
Does this mean I gotta take my fridge?
Yes, it does. Storing items on the side yard. A lot of people like to just put it up against the house on the side. Using your carport for storage, or using the boats, trailers, or pickup beds for storage. Some of the things I've run into. Trash accumulation, that's obvious. We don't want trash to accumulate in your yards, but a lot of people don't consider trash as more than just the cups that blow into their yard. It's also any litter, ashes, leaves, debris, paper, rubbish, waste, anything from your trees that fall off, your piles of leaves that you rake up and the leaves sitting in your yard, the piles of branches that you pick up and put in a pile with the best intentions to move at a later date. But if it sits there for too long, it is considered to be trash and can be a violation as trash accumulation. Junk or abandoned vehicles. The basic rules on junk or abandoned vehicles is just like it says, any motor vehicle with an expired license plate, if it's in disrepair, it's been wrecked, or it's dismantled, partially dismantled, if it's inoperative, abandoned, or discarded, or it's incapable of being moved under its own power, it's considered to be junk or abandoned. Now, a motor vehicle, it's not just cars. Our ordinances describe it as any vehicle which is self-propelled and designed to travel along the roadways, including automobiles, buses, motorbikes, motor scooters, trucks, tractors, go-karts, golf carts, campers, and trailers. So any of those could be considered junk vehicles if they're left in the yard and abandoned. So where can you store your vehicles? Basic rules for that is behind a proper screening. What's a proper screening? Inside a garage, behind a privacy fence, or behind some natural barrier that has leaves on it all year round so you can't see through it. Those are proper screenings. The vehicles, if it's a junk or abandoned, it's pretty simple. You get 10 days to move it, or the city will move it for you. If it's inoperable due to mechanical failure, the city actually gives you 30 days to make it operable and where you can move it. I run into that. That's mostly what I run into, is just getting in touch with people and letting them know, hey, I obviously I see your tire's off, but you've got 30 days to get it back on and get it moved. So that's what I run into mostly. Some miscellaneous violations. The code covers quite a bit. This includes property maintenance issues. I see a lot of improper wiring going from main houses to their accessory buildings. Misuse of RV trailers. I've run into a hose being hooked up to the sanitary drain system running into our culvert on the street. Different things like that. The misuse of trailers, parking in the wrong area. Again, using the trailers for permanent open storage. Blocking the alley and the sidewalk with vehicles, making it to where the trash trucks have to go on the side of the alley and create a large rut. I've seen that a few times. Basic sewage problems where it's backing up onto the property and then just not caring and not calling the plumber, just letting it continue to run off into the yard. That's bad stuff. Not maintaining your fence properly. It's breaking, it's starting to fall, the wind's blowing it over, and you just let it sit there. That's a violation. You need to fix that. Again, livestock in non-agricultural zones. We have a few of those instances sometimes.
I was gonna ask you, the goat's all right, you just gotta have a good fence, is that what you're saying?
No. Can't have a goat in the residential zone.
What about chickens?
No, chickens are not allowed either in residential zones.
Do you ignore them if you see them?
No, I do not ignore them. I let them know that they're not allowed, and that they need to go ahead and cook them up.
Well, I have a family of 4 and we need eggs
Cook that Easter chicken.
Find a farmer friend and get eggs from that person, or store your chickens out there and go out there. Now to dilapidated houses, what's considered to be dilapidated, basically, if the building or structure, or it could even be the property, through whatever reason, basic neglect or injury due to fire or something like that, if it's not being kept up or fixed, it's considered to be dilapidated. If it's unfit for human occupancy due to lack of necessary repairs, it can be considered dilapidated. When I came on, I inherited 5 structures. I added 10 in January, 7 in February, 6 in March. Out of those, that's 23 total that I added to the 5 that I inherited. So far, we've got 9 complete compliance, meaning they've either fixed or repaired the property or it's been torn down. And out of those that have been torn down, only 1 of them has been mandated by the city. So that is a great number to pay attention to, is of the structures being torn down, how much of it is the city paying for? And so far, it's only been 1. Everything else has been voluntary. And I encourage anybody to go drive out west on Fur tomorrow. You'll notice that there's one that's coming down voluntarily right now. And that's a good sign. So
You have to haul them off too, or can you just tear them down?
the contractor hauls them off. I don't do that.
You get hit for trash and trash by
So the dilapidated process was took me a little bit longer to get going, but now that I've got it going, my goal is to keep 15 to 20 active properties on that dilapidated list every month. When structures get repaired or torn down and go off the list, I'll add 3 or 4, however many, to keep my list up. That's about the extent of the load that I can handle with the paperwork that goes along with it, and just to be able to pay attention to the work that's being done on them and make sure that everything is being done to the hearing officials' orders. So that's my goal, is to keep it at that number. And some months I may add 6 or 7 properties. Some months I may only add 2 or 3. It just depends on the process, on how everything's working. So that's what I've done for the last 3 months. And of course, anybody can always contact me at City Hall. You can write me, you can call me, you can email me. All the information is on the screen for anybody at home that wants to write it down. A lot of things I drive around, I see it. If I see it, I take pictures, I try to act on it and fix it. But the majority of what I get comes from people out there in the city seeing it and calling me and letting me know, bring it to my attention. That helps me more than just driving around. I could be driving down the street and focused on the right side and totally miss something going on over here and miss it for 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden go, how could I miss that? It's been right there the whole time, but it happens. So the more tips and phone calls I can get from the citizens on things that are out there, it really helps my job a lot. So any questions or comments? Yeah, a hotline. When we get our new website up and running, there should be actually some things like that on there for citizens to log on and submit complaints, things like that.
Do you carry a taser or anything like that?
Just pepper spray.
Just pepper spray.
Thanks to Chief.
You have a badge?
Yeah, there's big badges here.
You can issue tickets, you know.
Thank you, Jason. Any
Sure.
questions
Thank you.
for him?
Good job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job.
Item 15 is the select candidates for the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group Board of Trustees and authorize the submission of official ballot. Currently, there are 3 people on that board whose terms are up. They have indicated they want to continue in those seats. If we choose, we can just say leave them the way it is, or we can submit our own list of candidates.
I'll make a motion, we leave it the way it is.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman.
Yes.
Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Warner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Thank you. Item 16, discuss city ordinances relating to oil and gas drilling in city limits and near city watersheds and provide direction, if any, to the city manager. Regulations concerning oil and gas drilling have been found in Chapter 5, Article 8 of the Perry Municipal Code 2012. This is up for discussion, and any direction you want to give our city manager. You can see from our notes that the oil and gas drilling permitted in the city limits on 10-acre tracts within 400-foot setbacks of residential structures. 100% consent of the landowners through some instances, and other regulations protecting health, safety, and welfare of the city, including watershed protections. However, future oil and gas drilling could be prohibited or further regulated with proper draft ordinance. Councilman Norman requested this item be placed on the agenda for discussion of the subject. Do you have any other comments?
Actually, I've just had a lot of citizens come to me about receiving letters wanting to lease their royalties. And their concern is, can they drill in the city? And there's a section in the code about annual permits and inspections, and that's not being done.
It is not being done, hasn't been done for several years.
What'd you say, would you repeat what you said? What's in the code? I can hear
About
you.
inspections and annual permits.
Of existing
that
wells,
are in the city.
existing wells.
Yeah, that's, I had some questions from some citizens as well about that. I think it was emailed to you about that, I think, and responded that we do have.
There is a provision in the code for annual inspections.
Yeah.
And there is a fee. And that's not been done for several years, from my research anyway. And so that's something that we'll look at. I'm not sure, I know I don't have the expertise to look at a well and know whether it's okay or not okay. And so, you know, making sure that we have someone on city staff that can do that. And also, I guess, getting an inventory of all the wells that are actually operating and that are operating inside the city limits. I'm assuming the Corporation Commission can help us with that.
So is this something we're gonna have to hire someone to do or contract out?
I think the point would be that we would want to contact the Corporation Commission and see what the procedures are for that type of inspection, what you really have to look for, and then the permitting of it.
Can I,
I mean, it's a city code requirement, it's not something that the Corporation Commission requires.
Yeah.
can I move to table this so that you guys could check into this more until next, I don't wanna offend.
I was actually gonna do that.
Oh, well, I'll remove my table to let Lynn table.
I'll second anybody's table.
There's something else we might
I'll third
consider
it if that's
too,
what it
is the ones that are existing that have the pumping units on them, should those be fenced? Is that in our
That
code?
should be enclosed, yes.
Yes,
And we need to check and make sure they are fenced,
most of them are not.
yeah.
But that's another thing, we need to make sure we have an ordinance covering. I know from their insurance purposes, their insurance company should be all over it.
The other thing, while we're looking at this, Perry does allow drilling inside the city limits under the conditions and the provisions in the code. Not every city and municipality allows drilling within the city limits, so it might be a good opportunity to just discuss that.
I asked Bryce about that here a while back. He said we probably ought to visit that.
So it's just a good opportunity to look at that
Is
as
that what
well.
woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Nah.
No, that was that fracking going on out there.
Do we need to
Frackers.
cross out the
But there have been several people receive letters asking about.
There are
royalties.
some tribal lands.
Or should that
Did you get one?
be on
No.
a future agenda?
Well, it can be all rolled into one,
Let's just wait.
if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table.
Stroller?
Yes.
Dow?
Yes.
Moxley?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Norman? Nation?
Yes.
Wade? Warner?
I'm having
Yes.
oil.
Johnson?
Yes. Thank you, Lynn, for bringing that to our attention. All right, folks, consider approval of real estate contract to purchase 6.117 acres tract of real property located west of ABI facility, that's Anheuser-Busch Incorporated facility, in the Perry Commercial Park from AB, which is Anheuser-Busch. They're a PP holding company and for Perry Oklahoma LLC and Delaware Limited. Now, this is all one company, this commercial park from ABPP Holdings for Perry OK LLC. That's the company. Holy moly. A Delaware limited liability company. Finally got that working, spit it out. Do we understand what we're considering here? Any questions?
Motion to approve.
We have the money to pay for this?
Yes.
Okay. We have a purpose for this property?
Yes.
I second it, yes.
I hope somebody offers us some good money for it. Anyway, we have a question, we have roll call.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman. Nation.
See,
Wade.
Aye.
Warner.
No.
Johnson.
Yes. You stinker. All right, new business. Anyone?
Actually, I have a question about our insurance on city property. Do we have earthquake coverage?
I don't,
I doubt it.
I doubt it, but it's something that we could certainly ask. We can ask, when we, I know,
Right now, dude.
yeah.
I bought-
I bet it's going up.
I bought a bunch of it 2 years ago. Thank you, Norm. Any other new business or questions from the council?
I didn't buy it yet.
None? Okay.
I'll just make a list.
All right, 19. Convene into executive session for purpose of confidential communication between the governing body, its attorney, concerning the potential claim or legal action involving downtown streetscape project. Since the governing body finds, with the advice of its attorney, that disclosure of any will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process a claim or legal action in public interest. And for the purposes of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development in the city of Perry, including creation of a proposed to entice certain retail business into Perry Commercial Park, the creation of a proposal to entice business to the South Commercial Park, as disclosed, or these proposals would violate the confidentiality of the business or businesses.
so moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Stroller.
Yes.
Yes.
Dow. Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman. Nation.
Uh-huh.
Wade. Warner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Is anybody still watching on the TV?
He's really good at
law
that.
that says that makes it
Public.
public.
You're right. Talk about things we're
We have to be.
I have a feeling when you run a meeting, it's gonna
You
be
move
quick.
up to something new, you know, you just look at your house.
It's gonna be a short
Bring me
agenda.
in as the pitch hitter. Close it out.
Brandon, with this being your first one, you'll go. No more of that.
I'm gonna know the signals.
I'm sick.
I don't know, there's been some doozies I've been a part of, so.
These TVs aren't on, we could be on TV.
Okay, yeah, well, let's go ahead and do it. You're right, the TV doesn't have to be on. So are we reconvened?
We are on.
Okay, go. Somebody make a motion.
Make a motion.
Tim did it.
I did.
Second.
Brad, second.
Roll call, please.
Easy on her.
Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes, ma'am.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman. Nation.
Yes.
Wade.
Aye.
Warner.
I make
Yes.
a motion
Johnson.
to adjourn.
Second.
No.
And maybe one,
Any action necessary as to the
No,
As a result of these.
none.
result?
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
I'm gonna kill him.
Who seconded? Stroller.
Yes.
Dow.
Yes.
Moxley.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Norman. Nation. Wade. Warner.
Hey
Yes.
Brad, can you bring your old thing back that
See,
way we
Cindy,
don't
I'll
have
be
to, we don't have to
Except for this first one.